Reserve time.
Welcome back, everybody, to the MarsTV Dota 2 League, where the Dota does not stop. We are heading into our third two-game series of the day. It's Hyperglory team up against Newbee, and let's get this thing started. In terms of overall standing, let's have a very quick look at where we are at the moment in terms of these two teams. So for those of you wondering, LGD are out in front at the moment, 7-1. By the end of today, they will have played 5 of their 7 matchups. So we'll have a pretty good idea of where they stand in terms of the overall competition. Newbee are currently 2-0, having defeated Immortal Magneto yesterday. I still think that Immortal Magneto put up a decent fight in that series, but Newbee still looked pretty strong. So we'll see how they do here. Hyperglory team, 1-3 at the moment. They went 1-1 against DK, and they actually ended up being 2-0'd by LGD, which is not too much of a shock given LGD's overall standing at the moment, but we'll see how these two teams square up here as we get ourselves into the draft. Undying will continue to be banned out, but with the Wisp ban from Newbee, HGT are going to be able to sneak that Spirit Breaker through into the pool, which is going to be immediately snapped up. We are going to start to see a little bit of Gyrocopter being banned out as HGT get rid of that one. And Shadow Fiend is also going to be removed. In terms of general style, I feel like Newbee have been somewhat similar to LGD on the whole. Still trying to sort of hedge their bets a little bit in terms of always having 2 good scaling late game cores going into things, and a similar roster of heroes for their safe lane and for mid at the moment. So we'll have to keep an eye out on how things go here. Earthshaker and Lion are going to be the early 2 grabs. As always, Earthshaker, your potential offlaner or a potential support, but Newbee definitely keeping their options open here. And Hyperglory team are going to end up going into this early Phantom Lancer pick. I think we saw this from them yesterday as well. Not necessarily as was it actually HGT? I feel like I need to go back and have a look here.
10 seconds remaining.
I might be misremembering. Let's have a very quick look. HGT yesterday, as I just said, played a tiny game. He played a Slark game. He played a Lone Druid game and another tiny game. And he played a Leshak game and a Morphling. Okay, so they didn't actually play any of this Phantom Lancer yesterday, and looks like this is a little bit of a not necessarily a new experiment for them, but I think the Phantom Lancer is definitely a hero that's positioned pretty well at the moment, and I think we're also starting to see what heroes deal with him well and what heroes really don't. I'm a little bit surprised to see it picked into both the Earthshaker and the Lion, because there's both tons of AoE and a bunch of single target lockdown between these two heroes, which is really what does give Phantom Lancer a pretty hard time, but it looks like HGT do still have confidence. And they're just going to end up banning out the Dragon Knight, which is something that Moo's been handling quite a bit recently over on the Newbee side. So still tons of options for both teams as we move a little bit further into the draft. I guess the other thing to mention in terms of setting up this Phantom Lancer pick is that HGT have banned out the Gyrocopter as well. So at least removing some of that AoE. And Queen of Pain going to continue to maintain, I think, like an 80+% ban rate, ban/pick rate on this patch. I haven't actually seen too many picks of the Queen of Pain, but she's been banned a lot, which is interesting because in the games where she doesn't get banned until quite late, she still doesn't seem to be ridiculously prioritized. That could be to do with the fact that I've cast a lot of LGD games over the last 2 days, so that may not be necessarily representative of the overall field and the overall spectrum of play at the moment, but at least when it comes to LGD, they don't seem to be ridiculously interested in it. But HGT spending a lot of bans, removing AoE, removing mids, setting up for this Phantom Lancer little by little. We are going to end up with a Viper banned out by Newbee, so we'll see what that is going to lead into. Mid could be some kind of melee mid laner coming out from them. Definitely don't want anyone that's going to be too vulnerable to the Spirit Breaker charges, otherwise your mid lane could fall apart pretty quickly, and a lot of those heroes that can recover even after a bad start, like the Shadow Fiend and the Dragon Knight, have already been banned out. But the answer for Newbee is going to be to pick themselves up a Storm Spirit. So a little bit vulnerable to the Spirit Breaker charges early on. It is going to depend on what he's matched up against on that mid lane, and we'll see what HGT are going to be picking up for that. Air's Brewmaster is still in the pool, but I don't know if it's the most amazing game for it here. There's still a puck as well
10 seconds remaining.
to try and deal with the Storm Spirit somewhat. And okay, I think HGT did this against the Storm Spirit yesterday as well. They picked up or somebody picked up the Bounty Hunter against the Storm to try and put a ton of pressure on him in the early stages of the game, but it was a total disaster. The Bounty Hunter did not do, I think, what they were expecting, and that game ended up going. Yeah, that game did not end up being all that pretty. So, was it actually the HGT game?
Remaining.
Looks like once again, I am misremembering, and it was
5 seconds
it was
remaining.
not HGT who did that. But there was definitely a game yesterday where we saw a similar thing.
Reserve
Bounty Hunter is
time.
the pickup to try and put a lot of pressure on the Storm Spirit early. Didn't really work out all that well. Storm Spirit got pulled the Sentry Ward at the start, played pretty defensively. His support sat behind him. I think there was also an Earthshaker in that game, and we could see a very, very similar story here. Earthshaker just be pulled off whatever he's doing, and be ready to deal with these Bounty Hunter rotations. Bounty Hunter, of course, is going to be pretty nice for setting up for Spirit Breaker charges, and HGT have a ton of vision to work with between both those charges and the tracks. So controlling team fights from that perspective should be pretty easy for them, but the question is going to be whether or not they can get ahead. I do worry for their lineup a little bit if Newbee are able to get some kind of 5-man death ball rolling. In that case, Bounty Hunter is not all that scary. Even Spirit Breaker, not the most amazing initiator for 5-on-5 engagements. The one thing that they do have going for them is that Newbee's lineup is not the best for 5-manning just yet, but they're going to add a Slardar here, and it's going to give them a lot of extra Roshan power as well over on that dire side. Also get the amplified damage to potentially reveal the Bounty Hunter and the actions of the Spirit Breaker, and definitely plays into that vision as well that we're just talking about for HGT. So Newbee getting a little bit of their own back, and we do tend to see teams picking up the Storm Spirit, at least trying to go for one other hero that can provide a little bit of vision and make it easier to get in with those Storm ganks. But HGT also doing some other off-the-wall things here as they end up grabbing the Night Stalker. Really good hero to have against the Storm Spirit, long duration silence. Same story, I think, against the Lion and the Earthshaker. So a little bit off the wall, but gives them even more vision to work with if they pick up that Aghanim Scepter. And it looks like for HGT, they're not even going to give Newbee the opportunity to start 5-manning. The gank train is going to start from even 4 or 5 minutes into this game. PL might need to be dragged around a little bit to get involved, but definitely still a hero that can fight early and active and pick up his Diffusal Blade and start going to work. And that's going to be a pretty scary thing for the Storm Spirit here, since he's not really going to be able to deal with the Silence or the Spirit Breaker lockdown all that easily. We could see something like an early Yule Scepter coming out of the Storm Spirit, but that's still not going to be a 100% answer to the Phantom Lancer Diffusal Blade. So the fact that the Storm Spirit is positioned to have a relatively slow start here could be the thing that really drags Newbee down. If the Bounty Hunter and the Spirit Breaker and the Night Stalker are successful in applying pressure, because right now the only thing that Newbee have they've got decent heroes for dealing with face rush, but if the early game falls apart, Lion and Storm Spirit are just going to be total food, and as will Earthshaker. And Newbee are going to wrap things up going for a Dark Seer here. So it gives them a little bit of early fighting power. Should hopefully be able to pick up a relatively quick mech. And, I mean, HGT are 4 melee heroes at the moment. So the Wall and the Ion Shell, along with the Vacuum into the Slitherine Crush, should all be pretty effective this game. And that is probably the one slightly scary thing for the HGT roster here. They're all melee, and they're now up against a Slardar, Earthshaker, Lion, Darkseer. So if they're not able to sort of grab one, pick a hero off, grab one hero, pick him off, and have team fights roll like that, if it's a more structured fight, then I think Newbee just vacuum you all into one stun and then you never get out of the stun lock ever if you're Hyper Glory team here. So should be a pretty interesting game one way or the other. HGT going to throw even more hate the way of the Storm Spirit as they finish up the lineup with this Skywrath Mage. And let's very quickly introduce our two teams here as we jump into game one of this 2-game series for the MarsTV Dota 2 League. Over on HGT, we have Pretty Haw on Skywrath Mage, we've got Air on the Night Stalker, ZSMJ on Phantom Lancer, Kaka on the support Bounty Hunter, and over in the offlane, Westbrook is going to be on one of his signature heroes, the Spirit Breaker. Meanwhile, for Newbee, we've got Rabbit on Slardar. I think a pretty good match for his playstyle. Very aggressive, very active. We've got Sansheng on the Earthshaker. Mu is going to be on Storm Spirit. Banana is on Lion and handling the offlane. And we've got June on the Darkseer. Second Darkseer game of the day. Let's see if this one can be a tiny bit more convincing than XZ's was in the earlier series. Nothing against XZ. I think he played pretty well, but I don't think it necessarily showed that Darkseer was all that impressive a hero at the moment. And the big thing for June this game is going to be that mech timing. Is the mech timing decent? Is the mech timing ready to fight against the aggression from HGT? If yes, fantastic. If no, well, at least you've still got a vacuum to fall back on a little bit later on. But HGT do at least get the one ranged hero into the roster with Pretty Haw here on the Skywrath Mage. Looks like Bounty Rune's going to be going the way of both mid laners, as Air is now 1 CS away from grabbing his bottle. A little bit of a different, well, not a different start from Mu. Pretty standard Storm Spirit fare, and does get that pooled sentry as well. Ready to deal with some of the rotations out of the Bounty Hunter. The one issue for this safe lane is, of course, going to be the fact it's just the Skywrath Mage trying to zone out the Darkseer, and I think HGT realized at the exact same time as I did that, oh man, we've got a really melee-heavy lineup, and this Darkseer might be a little bit difficult to deal with in the off lane. So I think the Skywrath Mage should help out a little bit with that. The Fisher brings the block all the way back to the tower. ZSMJ at least getting the first deny out here, so doing a pretty good job of controlling the Darkseer, but he's going to get an immediate level 2, and that's going to be a really nice start for him here. Westbrook has managed to find a nice little patch over in the trees, made his way up here as well with an observer ward and blocked out the pole camp, so Sunshine just going to go for a little stack here to begin things. Banana does actually have a sentry ward and a dust at the moment, so could try and get that D ward off, but for the moment just going to put some pressure down onto Westbrook. Spirit Breaker is absurdly tanky, he eats the full stun lock. Newbee not even stacking that in the slightest, but Westbrook's still going to be able to back off and pop his first salve of 2 and a set of tangos. He's just going to be putting his body on the line to try and get experience here, though. Newbee are doing a really good job of pulling this lane back, though. It looks like Rabbit, having gone forward for that kill, no, okay, the range creep's still going to take enough damage for him to be able to deny it, and he's now got the equilibrium under control. I thought the range creep was going to double up, and he might lose control of the wave somewhat, but no dice. Westbrook would love to make his way over and run a side pull to continue messing around with the equilibrium a little bit, but I think Newbee have everything kind of on lock here. They've placed down the sentry and they're looking for the observer ward. It is going to end up being the last place that they could have possibly looked, so Sansheng's going to get rid of that one. Kaka and Pretty Haw somewhat awkwardly going to end up dragging the creep wave down into the river as they go for the 2-minute rune. The rune is going to end up being an invis for the Spirit Breaker. Mu was expecting to see a Bounty Hunter with this with the sentry ward, but ends up seeing somebody a little bit burlier making his way mid lane. Westbrook actually has a first point in the Greater Bash, so not the easiest for him to gank, but does manage to soak up some experience, and Charge of Darkness now up and ready to go. So should hopefully be able to start getting something done. June not doing that much better over on the Dire offlane. Is about to reach level 3, so gonna get that little bit of extra kick on the Ion Shell before too long, but still gonna be a little while. Mid lane very even, 13-5 on the Night Stalker versus the Storm Spirits 12-1. So Night Stalker with that, I think, superior base damage, and just the non-stop void spam for CS is coming out the better of this one here. And Kaka, realizing that mid lane is the obvious rotation, is gonna make his way up towards top. I don't know what they're going to be able to do. Sancheng is coming up from behind right now, and Westbrook is a long way up in the lane. They've got the Hex. They got a bunch. Chain stun. Kaka might reveal himself, but actually just runs straight into both stuns and comes out of the invis. Westbrook is going to charge back, and they're looking for this kill on Banana. He's going to pop off the dust. It looks like Westbrook is going to be the exchange, but Kaka at the very least gets the first blood and is able to retreat back. So HGT make it a 1-for-1, and I think that is going to end up favoring them both on gold and experience. Nice preemptive rotation there from your bounty hunter. Pretty hard. Bit of fisticuffs with June right now. Spirit Lance thrown back from the creep wave, but this MJ unable to push through the Ion Shell, and this might actually be a kill here. June move clicking onto Pretty Hall. Silence comes out, but the doppel into the level 3 Spirit Lance pops the Darkseer's pointy little head, and Pretty Haw is just able to slide away. It looks like he's going to end up denying himself the neutrals. Night falls as the charge comes in mid, and Moo is going to get clubbed down. Fisher just a tiny bit late from Sansheng, and Air says hello and goodbye. Is they're going to be able to pick up the second kill here. Banana looking for more turnaround. Kaka tanking up some tower shots here. Might end up going down, but Westbrook salving back up on the back lines, and it looks like HGT should be able to make this one a triple. One last right click from the Spirit Breaker seals the deal. And overall on the map, we end up with a 3-for-1. Actually, a 4-for-1 with the Darkseer dying down bottom as well. So I said that HGT needed to get the ball rolling early, but they have certainly done that. Already up to a 1500 net worth and about a 1k experience lead here. Slardar is finding some farm, but Darkseer still not doing all that well in the off lane. Only the 8 CS for him, and this hero is definitely not the man that he once was. Again, it's all about that mech timing for June here, so that death is going to set him back a lot. Totally understandable going for that kill, but it just turns out that the Ancient Seal plus the Spirit Lance was a little bit too much for him to handle. Air already diving on the mid lane. Sansheng just needs to get this silence off so he can try and drop the Fisher, turning here, there, and everywhere, and Banana's just waiting around the corner. Looks like this may have been a dive too far for the Nightstalker. Stick Charge is going to keep him alive, but Moo, nice little static remnant overload proc coming in. He's going to be able to pick up that kill at the very end. Westbrook did consider the charge, but he's going to end up canceling it. Kako was not too far away either, but Air just wanted the free kill and to get out, but Sansheng unfortunately able to get out of the silence in time before the final void finished him off.
Middle tower is under attack.
Rabbit meanwhile looks like just a straight blink dagger rush for him up in the top lane, realizing that if they can stabilize this game, I think they win. I think if HGT ever fall back to even, then they're probably done. Let's see what ends up happening. Rabbit silenced up. The ganks continue from HGT. Just needs to get out of the silence and drop a crush. Air gonna duck off to the side. Fisher is gonna close the gap there, and Moo also TPing up here. Will not be able to find any kind of a turnaround, but they do at the very least manage to keep Rabbit alive, and he's gonna be able to continue farming up. He did end up buying his power tread, so it's not actually gonna be a straight blink rush here. Also finishing his magic wand. Phantom Lancer's item build this game is actually gonna end up being what looks like a Vlad's. I think this is normally a pretty bad item on Phantom Lancer, but he has a bunch of melee heroes on his roster, and everybody's looking to face rush this game. So I think this is actually a really solid first item pickup for him. First Knight is just about to fade from Air, but I think he can call it a pretty successful one. Unfortunately, that kill mid and the kill top didn't end up happening, so the defensive prowess of the Earthshaker definitely showing up in both of those cases. And Newbee, I mean, still happy that they're holding on to all of their towers and that they're keeping the kills relatively close at this early stage of the game. Moo gonna go clean up the jungle a little bit, is being spotted all the while by a Radiant Ward, and HGT, what? Okay, Banana, Sansheng, and Rabbit get the chain stun down, and this time around we'll be able to finish off Westbrook, who gets no response whatsoever. It's just Crush, Fisher, Earthspike, Hex, stunned the entire time. Meanwhile, mid, Moo also gonna end up being brought down as Air and Kaka converge. Looks like just unable to get out of the crippling fear. Air gets one more kill at the end of this first night time.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
So how is Moo doing? He doesn't even have his treads just yet. Storm Spirit having a little bit of a slow start, does still have decent CS, however. June, just some Tranquil Boots so far. Slardar, 1k gold, so good progress towards the blink. Kaka's up on the top side. He's going to have his track pretty soon, so Definitely going to be a pretty big pickup for him. And looks like the Nether Strike going to be coming up from the Spirit Breaker at around the same time. Unfortunately, they are going to have to wait a little bit for another true nighttime for Air, but he's got the Darkness ready, so that's probably another potential kill in the midst of all of this. And Newbee just kind of retreating back to this defensive area of the map, so that they always have heroes ready to respond if there's dives or if there's really aggressive movements out of the Night Stalker. Pretty Hall only level 4 at the moment. He's had his hands pretty much full dealing with this Darkseer down bot, and he's got diddly squat to show for anything in terms of farm. Phantom Lancer still just farming away, working on that Vlad's. And Kaka lurking top lane. Both of these heroes looking to finish up their level 6 as quickly as they can. Who's going to be scouted out here, but I don't think Air's going to be able to run over and get anything done, so it looks like it's just going to be Kaka keeping tabs and stealing a little bit of experience for the time being. June pokes his head forward, does some damage to Pretty Hall, but once again it is going to be ZSMJ forcing him back. And Kaka wanted to steal the big creep there, but no such luck. So we stalled a little bit, but it looks like the next nighttime is really going to be the big timing that HGT are going to have to hit. Air hasn't really spent too much gold just yet, I think. What is he going to end up going for here? Vanguard's still decent. BKB definitely really, really good as well. Perhaps even a little bit better. It all depends on how much he thinks he's going to be able to... Oh, okay, I was about to say it all depends on how much he thinks he's going to get away with, but it looks like Air thinks he's going to be able to get away with a lot as he ends up going for the Hand of Midas here. So I personally think this is a huge gamble. If the next night goes well, despite having the Midas, then this Night Stalker is going to be crazy and well positioned to actually get some big right-clicking items and be a big force in the late game. If he doesn't get anything done in the next night, then I do worry for him quite a bit. Newbee 3-hero smoke gank making its way down bot, but HGT already nestled up underneath their tower courtesy of all these Darkseer Ion Shells. So pretty safe for the time being, but it looks like Newbee might still be considering some kind of a dive. Pings coming out, defensive pings as well from Pretty Haw, requesting assistance if something untoward happens down in this bottom lane, and who can answer that call? We got a TP on Westbrook, TP on Kaka, and TP on Air, so everybody is actually ready to respond if something weird happens down bottom lane. Moo, meanwhile, just going to clean out a little bit of a stack over in the neutrals. So we're going to pick up his Soul Ring pretty soon. And as night settles in, Air is looking to get active once again. It'd be also their turn to huddle up underneath their tower here. 5 gold away from Rabbit on this Blink Dagger. And he's going to make 100% sure that he gets it. Is he even going to go Blink? I'm pretty sure you go Blink. We'll see what happens. The courier is still making its way back to base at the moment. And he might just want to get it from the shop if he can. Darkness coming in. That is going to be the Blink Dagger purchased up. The 3-man gank party of HGT is not going to end up finding anything here, as Newbee just going to continue farming up little by little around the rest of the map. Sorry. Got 12-minute rune coming up for Moo, so he's going to grab onto that one. And nobody really doing a heck of a lot of farming right now, as we've got ganking parties moving around everywhere on both sides. And in terms of an overall lead, we've kind of stagnated at 1k in HGT's favor, at about 1k experience, but they're definitely looking to open that up even further with this track now online in Kaka, and it's just up to Newbee to see if they can evade them for this entire nighttime duration. And that is where I think this Midas is definitely the gamble. So we'll see what happens. ZSMJ does have his Vladimir's offering complete. So just a grab for him there. Moo gonna get silenced up. Just wanted to grab a bit more farm down bottom. Gets surged away, but will still be finished off as the Phantom Rush comes through. And the charge now diverts over onto the Darkseer. They're looking for 2, and they're both going to be track kills. TP counter initiation coming in from Newbee. Silenced up is June, getting nuked down, but still alive. The cloak helping him out quite a bit. And in comes Rabbit, gets a 2-hero crush. The Fisher flies through onto 3 as well. But we've got the Shuriken toss bouncing around, and Air still on full HP, hunting for these kills. June's tracked up. Sancheng has an Ion Shell on him, but he's in trouble. Rabbit trying to turn this fight for his team, but he's going to be forced back into a defensive position. And HGT, only losing the Skywrath Mage, are going to walk away with, I think, 2 or 3 track kills after all is said and done. 2.2k gold lining their pockets, minus 225 for Newbee despite finding that 1 kill, and a bunch of experience going HGT's way as well. Okay, so Midas, I think, no longer a concern. Air still a total monster, and HGT now going to start climbing things up, both on gold and EXP. Pretty Hall finally going to get a little bit of a reward for all of his minutes of hard labor down on bottom lane. It's a bit of time over on mid lane to get some nice gold and experience going. As much as this is looking bad for Newbee, they still have their towers and might still be able to hang on there, though if the HGT lineup gets too far ahead, I don't even know if they care about towers. Night Stalker and Spirit Breaker both can easily tank up a bunch of tower shots, and it's really up to Newbee to see if they can start getting this chain stun coordination down. We saw a hint of what was possible over here with the 2-hero crush into the 3-hero Fissure, but unfortunately didn't quite have the follow-up damage. I don't know if there was an Ion Shell on the Slardar there. I think if there is, if there wasn't, then that's definitely a pretty big difference that they could quite easily tweak for the next fight, but need to be careful. Newbee grouped up pushing right now, but HGT going to be coming in from the side. Air smoked up, Kaka as well. First one to poke his head forward is going to be Banana. Immediately gets tracked up. Newbee just trying to disengage, but they're a little bit split. Fissure only catches one, and Banana now silenced up and immediately Mystic flared down. Rabbit still has his Blink Dagger up and available, waiting off on the side, but the Urn Charge is actually going to end up canceling that, and now he's trapped in a very awkward position, gets bounced up by the Nether Strike. The wall gets dropped down, but HGT just do not care. Charge bouncing June back. Moo also in a little bit of trouble, gets the double zip. Looks like he is going to survive for the time being as the tier 1 tower provides a little bit of safety, but HGT still see everybody retreating back, and that 4-second track cooldown means that everybody on Newbee is totally visible to HGT right now. So it is once again more kills but no tower, but Phantom Lancer's pushing power is going to start scaling little by little as he continues to participate in these fights. The Night Stalker looks like next item coming out for him. Well, at least for now, it's just an Ogre Club. More than likely going to end up being that BKB, as Newbee will just once again group up and make their way down towards bottom lane, trying to finish what they started on the tier 1, but Kaka is going to end up beating them to the punch and does take that tier 1 tower down with a deny. SMJ getting crushed, but he found an Invisor, and they've still got a Sentry Ward, and they've still got a bunch of lockdown. Won't be able to get the Doppel off, as everybody from Newbee is there. Drop pretty much every spell that they have on the poor Phantom Lancer's head, and will bring him down. As Newbee actually just going to head straight on over into the pit. They need something to proc this. There's no Hex. Okay, they will manage to pop it with the first Amplify damage just so that they can throw up the second one, but HGT, they've got a Darkness, and they're looking to fight. June already tracked up. Kaka are going to be dealing with that Sentry Ward. Moo jumps in, but he's silenced and out of mana. Mystic Flare will kill him off as he gets bounced back in by the Nether Strike. June now being charged. Sansheng opening up a little bit of space with the Fissure. June slowed up, tracked up, and getting beat down right now. Does have a Surge to get himself a little bit further away. Rabbit on the back lines, preventing further HGT heroes from chasing in. Though HGT will be able to prevent that Roshan attempt for now. And Roshan's still looking pretty healthy at the moment. In terms of Dire Vision, they've placed a lot of wards over on the over around the Radiant safe lane, but with this Darkness in full effect, not really getting a heck of a lot of vision out of that at the moment. Westbrook just going to go push out top lane a little bit, ready to participate at any moment with the charge. And ZSMJ slowed down a little bit by that death, but still comfortably holding on to this number 2 spot on net worth, as Newbee will just, with the same stubborn resilience that they went for the bottom tier 1, go straight back into Roshan here. Rabbit's getting bashed up. I don't know if they actually have enough to get this. They've got vision inside the pit, courtesy of the charge. Forced to use some crushes, and Rabbit on below 50% HP. He's actually just going to peace out, blinking up out of the high ground, but Westbrook charges straight through. He wants Banana. There's a Hex available, but I don't know if he's even going to be able to get it off. The rest of Newbee converge in, and it looks like the Spirit Breaker will be the one in trouble. The Fissure actually keeping the rest of HGT out, and Westbrook diving a little bit too far. Mu jumping in, but jumping back out as quickly as he came. As Newbee are going to pop a smoke, but I think HGT have a pretty good idea of what's going on here. Roshan takes a little bit more damage after that attempt, but HGT are still going to be able to force them back once again. Kaka runs up the hill into a bunch of stun locks, split up from the team. This is not how they need to run the face rush. He's still tanky enough for the time being, and the rest of the team now arrives. They bring down the Earthshaker Banana. Able to get back into Fog. But Kaka's still going to be hunting for him here. Can he get enough vision to throw out the track? Nope. Unfortunately, it is darkness, and it is nighttime, and it is a little bit difficult for the Bounty Hunter to get that track vision out. So, just going to be the one kill there. HGT still gradually building up this net worth and experience lead. Mu has quite a bit of gold, but no big item to show for it just yet. Slardar made pretty good use of the Blink Dagger so far. The Darkseer actually ends up going for a Vanguard here. So June just tanking up as much as he possibly can to stick around on the front line. So no mech to help out the rest of the team. But he is definitely very difficult to focus down. And if they can get a few more levels up on him, that's where the max rank vacuum is going to start really coming into play, which is, I think, really what they're hoping for from this Darkseer. But Newbee still just chilling around the pit. They're going to go in D-Ward. It's just been 5-man on 5-man action for the last 10 minutes. Nobody's farming top, nobody's farming mid. HGT getting a little bit of farm out of their own jungle, but I mean, even just how long this Diffusal Blade has taken to come out from this MJ is sort of testament to how grouped up everybody is playing right now. But Knight's gonna settle in, and Newbee split up somewhat, but a lot of this seen by Radiant Observer Wards and HGT eyeing up their second tier 1 tower of the game. As they do make their way down here. Sanchung lurking in the trees. Echo Slam on cooldown for 40 seconds time. And Air, with a 10-second BKB at his back, can pretty much go and do whatever he wants right now. June gonna cop a little bit of harassment. The support staying safe off to the side, but all of HGT are here and ready to try and make something happen. Mu just gonna continue farming up. I don't know what his first item is going to be. I think he needs a Yules or a BKB, more than likely. And well, HGT not gonna go in from the front, looping around all the way. Air is gonna end up leading the charge. Maybe what can they get done here? Banana. Is he gonna be the first one to go down? Fisher back the opposite way. Looks like they've realized what's going on here. First track comes out. Air now charging in the tier 1 tower, still definitely very healthy. BKB gets popped off, but the amplify damage comes in. Looks like Banana will be the first one. Right click down. Mu silenced up. June being focused, but I don't know if that's a hero that HGT want to go for here. The Echo Slam gets dropped down, but it's only a little bit of damage onto the Phantom Lancer, as HGT will just get the one kill, expend that BKB charge, and then get out. Newbee's still huddling around their tier 1 tower right now, but everyone is tracked up, and what is everybody going to actually do here? HGT still have to go back and retrieve their creep wave to get any further pushing done on this tier 1 tower, and so it looks like Newbee are going to call it a day, at least for the time being, and go and try and farm up another couple of items. The Night Stalker is still scaling really nicely, and the Midas actually turning out to be a really good pickup with the amount of 5-manning that they've been doing. The extra experience and gold is keeping him head and shoulders above the rest of the game right now. So that gamble definitely paying off. 6-1-6 on this Night Stalker. Air having a pretty convincing performance so far this game. Yeah, okay. Looks like Mu is going to be picking up that Yule Scepter as the first grab, so I mean, there's still so much that can kill him. He can dispel the Ancient Seal, but he might just get immediately crippling feared right afterwards. Or there's the charge into Nether Strike, which he's not going to be able to Yules. So I don't think this is a one and done solution for the Storm Spirit, but at the very least it's gonna help him out a little bit in these fights. In terms of who's actually been tanking all of the deaths for Newbee, it has for the most part been that Lion and the Earthshaker. Everybody else fairly elusive, and June especially with this Vanguard build up has been fairly difficult to deal with. Looks like he is gonna just continue to tank up and go for a BKB as the next item. The one issue that I have with this build-up from him is that it makes him kind of easy to ignore. As much as he lives through every single fight, and he has been receiving a little bit of focus fire here and there, so I think fair enough on that. The Vanguard is an amazing way to survive against Phantom Lancer, and the Crimson Guard later on is also going to help out his team in making sure that the PL illusions aren't doing any damage aside from the Diffusal Mana Burn, but it also feels like he's not really drawing any attention to himself anywhere. But we'll be holding this high ground here, but the charge is going to go on in. Stuns up too. Moon in a little bit of trouble. Mystic Flare coming out. I click on the shop. I don't know why. Air getting dragged back. Didn't get off the BKB. Can they focus him down? Couple more auto attacks. Is it going to be enough? Moo trying to finish off the kill. ZSMJ getting bursted down. Newbee fighting as a unit, not letting the pickoffs happen. Westbrook charges through onto everybody, but Newbee's still holding this fight. The stun's coming out, and they will manage to take out both the Phantom Lancer and the Spirit Breaker. And looks like they might finally be able to claim this Roshan as their prize at long last. It's taken them 3 or 4 attempts, I think 10 plus minutes of posturing around this pit, but it should finally be the Aegis and the gold and the experience going their way. And for the first time in the game, if we take a look at the graphs, things are going to start tipping back in the Newbee direction, and this could be the beginning of an avalanche, as Newbee are just going to pick up item after item from this point forward. Darkseer is going to get that vacuum maxed out, and I think this is where HGT do have to be a little bit scared that they're going to start dropping off. I don't know what bursted down air so quickly. I get the feeling that maybe he got fingered or something like that, but yeah, the 11k net worth Night Stalker immediately being forced to turn tail and run back from the fight was not the way to win that one for HGT. Also, just a really good place for Newbee to take that, sitting right on the hill. I mean, as much as HGT tried to force it with the charge, and it looked like they had a decent initiation, turned out to not quite be enough. Rabbit on the run from this Arcane Bolt. I think it's only level 2. Yeah, so Rabbit's gonna be alright. Unfortunately, Bounty Hunter not the best hero to provide lockdown for a Mystic Flare there, so a little bit of counter initiation from Newbee is going to be enough to get Rabbit out, and looks like he's going to be able to pick up a BKB before too long. They've put that Aegis over on the Storm, so he's now actually a force to be reckoned with in these upcoming fights with both the Zeal Scepter and the Aegis at the ready. And June as well getting quite a bit done. Yeah, 2.2k gold on top of that Ogre Club. A little bit of a miscommunication there as they pop the double smoke, so a little bit of a couple of problems here and there for Newbee, but I think they're now starting to take the reins back on this game. The Phantom Lancer is still going to be somewhat scary and still definitely has a ton of room to grow, but it's Newbee's turn to go on the aggressive. And who are they going to be able to find? Looks like Kaka might be the one to scout at this gank, but the smoke gets revealed, and the Sentry Ward goes down immediately. Fisher comes out, Moo's Ion Shelled up, and looks like he should be able to get this kill by himself. Kaka gonna drop the track for the move speed, but it's a vacuum back into a Finger of Death, which is gonna seal his fate. Newbee grabbing that kill, and let's see if they can rotate this one around and go and get something done on this tier 1 tower. June is just gonna be TPing down towards bottom, and for HGT, looks like they're feeling content, at least for the time being, sit back and grab a little bit of farm. Night Stalker has picked up a plate mail, so it looks like it's going to be an AC up for him. And with 2.5k gold, he's actually made some pretty solid progress. ZSMJ is still trailing a little bit behind the Night Stalker at the moment, but 1.9k having completed his Diffusal Blade. So yeah, the beginnings of a heart, or the beginnings of a Manta style is not looking too far away for him at the moment. He is going to have to be very careful with his illusions around the Earthshaker, as I think we've seen both in the bottom fight and that fight over by the pit. So I wonder if that changes his item build at all. Looks like he's actually already spent some gold, so just gonna be the Yasha into your Manta style for him. It's honestly not even a terrible game to buy a BKB on a Phantom Lancer. It's definitely less outlandish than it would have been on the old PL, but we'll see what ZSMJ opts for. Looks like probably just going to complete the Manta style, and then we can have a little bit of a discussion as to what his next item is going to end up being. It's like Spirit Breaker just working on a BKB of his own. Slardar BKB about 1,000 gold away at the moment, and HGT actually just trying to build up a bunch of BKBs. They've also got one being worked towards by the Bounty Hunter right now. Tier 1 tower, only a few auto attacks from death here on mid, but Air gonna go charging in and reminding Moo that he is still a force to be reckoned with this game. And so this MJ using that little bit of cover is gonna end up taking down the Tier 1 tower. So that Aegis is going to be sticking around for another minute. Looks like Moo is just going to be going for his Bloodstone as the next item after the Yules. And what else have we got going on? HGT have placed 1,000,000 sentry wards. Just trying to prevent Newbee from getting any kind of vision and getting any kind of gank value out of these last couple of smokes and out of that Aegis. Rabbit, a little bit afraid of what's going on here. Switch it over to his vision. He doesn't see anything on the map right now, so he's just going to be backing up to the safety of his Tier 1 tower. And HGT kind of tentatively poking their way up towards the top side of the map here. Kaka just going to pop in a couple of wards for good measure just to get some vision out. Lion Blink Dagger is very close to being completed, so if Banana doesn't die immediately at the start of this next fight, should be able to pick that one up. We've got the AC complete for the Night Stalker, so long as he's able to get off his BKB here, should be looking alright. Couple of tracks going out, Westbrook charging in as well, but the Night Stalker not here just yet, and that might be a bit of an opportunity for Newbee to strike. Moo's gonna go jumping in, but the Aegis has already been reclaimed, so needs to be a little bit careful. The wall goes down, and HGT, Air popping up his BKB. I don't think June is the hero that you want to be focusing right now, but he's the one on the front lines. It's actually going to be HGT who are forced to retreat back to the Tier 1 towers. SMJ coming in at a slightly awkward angle. Will be able to disengage. But that was the BKB popped from the Night Stalker. So I think it's actually Newbee coming out. Coming out the better of that little skirmish there. So SMJ looks like he does still want to try and defend this one. Sancheng on the front lines. Needs to be a little bit careful. They do have the wall to retreat back to. Westbrook charging in. No fear, but he does end up getting Yules in the middle of that one. Banana also going to drop down the Earth Spike. I think gave a moment's thought to dropping the Finger of Death, but Spirit Breaker is just way too tanky to die to a measly finger at this point. Just going to be both teams dancing back and forth. Slaughter gets tracked. Kind of gives away the fact that there is a ward around the corner, but Kakai just wants that little bit of extra vision. Is the Slaughter BKB up? No, it's about 300 gold away from being completed, so it looks like that is going to be what Newbee are waiting around for. This is somewhat of a testament to just how crappy a farmer Slardar is in general. He's been hitting creeps for quite a while now, but yeah, just not really getting a ton out of it. And HGT actually going to be able to go and take a Tier 1 tower uncontested. Nighttime is still up, though as soon as this night fades, they are going to have a darkness at the ready anyway. And the Vlads and the AC combining nicely to add that little bit of extra oomph to HGT so that they can finally start bringing down some towers and getting some of that gold going their way. So the net worth dips a little bit, but we're heading back towards 7.5k, the Radiant lead, and about 5k the experience as well. BKB completed for June, so he is an absolute tank now and should just be able to run into the middle of the fight absolutely no problem. Moo getting pretty close to his Bloodstone, so definitely a big grab for him there. Air getting jumped on. Where's the rest of Newbee? They're doing some good damage to the Night Stalker. They need to chain stun him, but he gets up the BKB, the vacuum. Not there. Now Rabbit being silenced up. Gets hit by the Nether Strike and bounce back. No BKB for him. Newbee might have wanted to wait around for that item as HGT are just going to keep on chasing forward. Diffusal Blade coming out onto Sancheng. Tracked up. More gold for HGT there. As it looks like they're going to clean up this creep wave and come back for the Tier 2 tower. Roshan, potential respawn in about 30 seconds time, but with Slardar dead, HGT might even... Oh no, actually there's still a Tier 1 and a Tier 2 bot. I think they probably just go and take those instead of risking anything on the high ground. Darkseer is still alive, there's still a vacuum, there's still a wall, and it's only 20 seconds. So. There you go. Easy Tier 1 tower, just going to be backdoored here, in fact, by Air and ZSMJ. And Newbee, well, starting to run out of structures. Kaka's got a BKB of his own, so looking good there. Looks like BKB also completed for the Spirit Breaker out of those last couple of fights, and despite a lot of discipline from Newbee, Those last couple of track kills are going to end up being a pretty big deal. Kaka getting fissured up, being stunned as well, but looks like no anti-invis for Newbee, or just a little bit afraid that there's other heroes in the neighborhood, so I'm going to give up on that one for the time being. Ion Shell stalls things a little bit, bot, but they need this Slardar BKB. Okay, it's finally up for Rabbit. The Night Stalker has another 2k gold after having completed this AC. Is that even all? He's got something else, right? Yeah, he's got a point booster on top of that. I don't know why you need Ags in this game. Is he buying Scotty? Maybe. We've already got so much vision from track. Fight's gonna break out. Rapid goes jumping in, pops his BKB, but he's just getting right-clicked down. Wall and Vacuum both coming out. We've got Phantom Lancer illusions everywhere. Westbrook being dragged back into Newbee's clutches as they continue to fight around this tier 2 tower. HGT kiting at the periphery. They've got their track move speed as well. Rabbit jumps back in. It looks like the illusions are going to be enough to finish off the Bounty Hunter. There's still a couple of tracks up, and Westbrook comes charging in from the back lines. Moo looking for the Phantom Lancer, but won't be able to find him. ZSMJ actually in full-on retreat mode here, as it looks like HGT are just trying to cut their losses. Westbrook is going to end up falling, and I really doubt that Pretty Hawk can find a little corner to TP away in here, so it looks like he might also end up falling further back. Rabbit being fought by ZSMJ in air as they do turn around a little bit, but there's a great Earth Spike from Banana, opens up space. What else have they got here? ZSMJ is still pretty healthy. June is extremely tanky, so I don't think you can really go for him here. And yeah, that looks like that's going to be that. Sansheng, however, might not be quite so lucky. The Phantom Lancer illusions have locked onto him. I think ZSMJ is one lance away from finishing that one. Yep.
Dire's bottom tower has been denied.
Okay, so ends up being 3 for 2 overall. Tower ends up being denied. Who actually... Oh, shouldn't have closed that. I wanted to look at who actually got a lot of benefit out of that one. The final kill, of course, benefiting the Phantom Lancer. But we're going to have to rely on the graphs to give us the big picture. Net worth not really changing too much. 3 for 2 with a couple of track kills works out to be relatively even overall. And experience only going to take a little bit of a dip. In terms of relevant levels that we are waiting for, the Skywrath Mage is still a long way behind, all the way at level 9. And a couple of level 16s and whatnot, as well as some other maxed abilities. Not there just yet. Phantom Lancer is starting to get pretty scary. Mantis Style completed, and then the 2.5k gold on top of that, so that does seem to be a really big problem for Newbee right now. Things were looking alright, I think, until Sansheng died down here. He had like 1500 gold, and now he's picked up a gem, so it looks like Blink Dagger is just not going to be happening for your poor Earthshaker here this game. The one answer that Newbee do have a little bit is to complete this Crimson Guard on the Darkseer to help against some of the Phantom Lancer right-click, but even that might not be enough to take all of the damage away from the PL illusions at this stage. And not nearly enough BKBs, so we're still going to be seeing the Diffusal mana burn on the majority of the heroes. But what can Newbee do? They're blind. It's dark. They've got a couple of wards, but they're not really doing anything for them at the moment. And all they can do is huddle around the campfire and just hope that HGT aren't face rushing at them right this second. They're going to get a little bit of information as their wards are removed up on the high ground, and HGT all in the pit. Newbee smoked up, looking to make their way in here. What can they find? Banana gets the Hex out on Pretty Off first. Looks like he's going to be the one bursted, but is that the hero that you want to focus all of you? Disable on June. Manages to get off his BKB. ZSMJ getting vaxxed back into the wall and controlled. Will get dropped down air. BKB having already been used is just going to run for the hills, and Newbee take a 3 for 1. The Lion ends up falling, but the chain stun from Newbee and fighting around the wall proves to be way too much for HGT. ZSMJ just dropped like a sack of potatoes in that fight. I don't think he got anything off. Looks like Illusion's got a couple of auto attacks there, but Newbee into the pit they will go. Second Roshan of the game for them. Probably going to be handed over to Moo, I would guess. He's got a couple of Bloodstone charges up now, so definitely has the ball rolling. And HGT is still plenty of gold, still plenty of experience, but Newbee starting to whittle away at it little by little as the team fight starts to come into its own. Air did end up buying that Aghanim Scepter. I can kind of understand it because you still want the vision. You still don't ever want Newbee to be the ones getting the jump on you, but it happened anyway, and I feel like the Midas and the Aghanim Scepter aren't really increasing his, his right-click, his sustainability. So I feel like this 18k net worth is a little bit misleading for your NS right now. As soon as the BKB fades, he can't really fight, and his damage hasn't really scaled all that much. I mean, he had this AC completed back when they were pushing the tier 2 top, which was like 10 plus minutes ago, and this is 4,200 gold, which, yes, it's a little bit of some stats here and there, but I feel like it could have been better spent. The argument is that HGT were getting the ball rolling, and we're kind of getting to the point where they might be looking to break up onto the high ground, especially if they'd taken that Roshan themselves, which I think they could have with the AC and the Vlads. Then the Night Stalker Aghanim Scepter vision is amazing for breaking high ground, but it looks like at the moment the big problem that they're going to be running into is actually winning these team fights. So we shall see. Phantom Lancer is going to end up going for that BKB, so should be a bit more difficult for Newbee to control him in these upcoming team fights, but they're still going to have to wait around for a couple of minutes for this Aegis to fade, and Newbee might be able to get out and get something done in the meantime. June's still the lead farmer on his team at the moment, has the Shiva's Guard picked up, and at this point he's starting to become quite a bit of a nuisance. Just even between the Vacuum and the Shivas, all the melee heroes on HGT are actually really struggling to get involved in these fights. And what they really need to be able to do is disengage from the wall, but Newbee are making it very, very difficult to do so, especially with some really nice fishers out of Sansheng. I think this Earthshaker pick has paid for itself in spades this game. Smooth, sneaky, gonna come in, grab the rune, grab onto air, still pretty tanky, Finger of Death gets dropped, pops the BKB, and Will's just to turn around and right click this a little bit. Mu able to Yulz himself up and dispel that silence, and will now continue pursuit. The BKB's faded, and looks like air is gonna end up falling. The Gem of True Sight also hitting the deck. They lose the Lion in the meantime. But I think a worthwhile trade is that Gem was probably acquired fairly recently, unless they took it from... Okay, let's just check. Let's check gems in shops before we say anything here. Okay, so they bought it a couple of minutes ago. It's about halfway back into being back in stock. And yeah, Newbee do have both of the gems at the moment, having purchased one of their own. So pretty big deal for HGT to lose that. That's a lot of map control. That's going to be gone for the next 5 minutes. Age is still up on the Storm Spirit for another minute and a half. And Newbee starting to get their own back by taking a couple of towers and starting to make a slow march towards the HGT base. Rabbit going to be able to pick up another item before too long as well, so see what he's going to end up opting for. I think AC definitely solid, and sells his Stout, buys the Hyperstone, so it looks like that is going to be the call. Mjolnir, also a possibility. Could throw it on himself or throw it on the Darkseer. Pretty decent for clearing out PL illusions, but I don't feel like clearing PL illusions is really the problem that Newbee are running into at the moment. So probably just going to be the more tower-oriented AC coming out from him. Kaka, item progression has stalled a little bit since the BKB, since they haven't been winning too many fights with the track. So another 2k gold for him. I think is he doing the majority of the warding, or is the Skywrath Mage? Looks like the Skywrath Mage might just be trying to buy up items at the moment, but he is still languishing at the bottom of the stack right now. 3.9k net worth. Meanwhile, his Night Stalker is almost about to break the 20k barrier. And what is Air working on here? There's still a bunch of great right-clicking items for him to pick up as we move a little bit later on. Abyssal Blade, Satanic, both distinct possibilities. AC is definitely not going anywhere. So I guess you buy one item, you can sell your Midas, buy another, need to upgrade to Boots of Travel after that point. We'll see what he ends up opting for. We'll see if the game even ends up going that long. ZSMJ, meanwhile, we saw that BKB a little bit earlier, and he's got another 1,300 gold on top of that. And Newbee, well, daytime's just about to disappear, as is their Aegis. It's already gone as of 10 seconds ago. So they need to be a little bit careful with how they approach this next push. But looks like still feeling confident. June's picked up a Force Staff as well, so ready to deal with those pesky Mystic Flares and whatnot that are bursting down his heroes on his team. June getting charged. Still really tanky, but everybody else is a little bit far away. Moon not there just yet, and June able to get off the BKB, but still just being right-clicked down, drops the wall, but looks like he's going to be the first to fall. Sansheng silence and unable to counter-initiate this one. He's going to try and get off the Echo Slime if he can. Will he be able to? No, ends up dropping air, tanks the Finger of Death, but still alive for the time being. June able to survive and run back towards the fountain. Kaka getting drained up. We've got a buyback from the Slardar, who also ends up going down. And ZSMJ uncontrolled in this fight. Pops the BKB and manages to grab himself a triple. Air does end up going down at the end of the day. Being finished off there by Moo, who is waiting on the sides of the fight. But HGT is still pretty promising for them. I guess June just thought he was immortal. Turned out that he was more or less correct. He still survived, but unfortunately the rest of Newbee were not close enough to be able to help him out. Moo had just gone up over in this direction to, I think, grab a rune and get a little bit of farm. So unfortunately a little bit late to the party there.
Over here now.
So we are still hovering around a 10k net worth lead in favor of HGT, but a 7.5k experience lead for them. But Kaka is going to be able to grab another item pretty soon. ZSMJ with the triple does have 3,200 gold now, so next item should not be too far away. And Slardar buying back in the midst of all of that turns out to be a bit of a flub, honestly. I mean, I don't know what he was hoping to re-engage on there, actually. And that's going to mean the AC is not going to be coming out for a very long time. Kaka see some heroes now going to pop the invis. I think he should be all right. Do they have a gem? It is over on the Storm Spirit, I believe. So it looks like Kaka, okay, is going to end up going down here. One last auto attack seals the deal. A couple of Phantom Lancer illusions in the meantime, keeping this wave pushed out. But Kaka is going to end up going down, farming all the way out there on his lonesome. Actually, only the Slardar and the Storm Spirit able to get in range for that kill there. Unfortunately for, I think, poor Sansheng is probably the poorest person on his team. No, it's actually Banana. They managed to get some farm over on the Earthshaker and get him his Blink Dagger up. Air, 3k gold on him. What's he going for? ZSMJ's Magic Wand is just going to be sold, and looks like he might be picking something up pretty soon. Scotty's an option, Heart's an option, Abyssal Blade's an option. I feel like probably going to end up going for one of the more survivable items. I guess Satanic, worth a mention there as well. But no, actually Skullbasher picked up right now. Looks like it is going to be the slightly more aggressive choice. Moo zipping forward, looking for Westbrook. He's got the BKB. And it is just a 5-second charge popped off. So not a big deal to use that one there. Pretty Hot, meanwhile, has bought a plate mail. I think he's trying to buy Lotus Orb. He is unfortunately going to have to spend a little bit of gold at rebuying their gems, so that is going to take a little while to come back up. I think the Lotus Orb actually a pretty big deal, especially against the Fisher and all of the Lion's abilities. Let's just make it that little bit more difficult for Newbee to actually get anything done. We've had this level 16 on the Darkseer for a while, so the rank 3 wall is up. Any other big level 16s coming up? It's actually Spirit Breaker and Bounty Hunter both about to get their 3rd point in the ultimate, so that's a pretty big boon for them. On the whole, Moo has picked up a Mystic Staff, so looking like it might be a Hex coming out from him. But HGT, another smoke, fresh gem on the Night Stalker, and Aghanim Scepter providing great vision of everything that Newbee are up to at the moment. Moo, not the hero that they want to jump first. Banana and June, much more likely. He's going to pop up his BKB, but still gets charged through by the Bash Pretty Hall, dropping pretty low. Everyone on Newbee trying to get back into this fight, but waiting the BKBs out for the time being. Moo jumping in deep, but ZSMJ still just right-clicking away. We're getting some lag from all of the effects and everything else popping up, but Newbee will just continue to fight around their wall, and the overall trade ends up being a 1-for-1 as they do manage to focus down the Darkseer and lose the Skywrath Mage at the end of the day. Looks like HGT just going to chill out, go and farm up some Ancients. They've got some pretty decent vision around the place for the time being, and also going to realize that Roshan has popped back up. So despite Phantom Lancer being a pretty garbage rush hero, should still be able to get in here and clean this one up pretty quickly. Newbee, meanwhile, looks like no intention for them to try and defend this one with their Darkseer down. And they are going to end up just sacrificing this. So it's going to be an Aegis and a Cheese going HGT's way. I don't know how Air makes room for anything here. So it looks like he's not going to be taking anything. No, okay. Cheese swapped for the gem. And it is going to be the Aegis over on the Phantom Lancer. 3k gold on ZSMJ, so if he wants to buy the Abyssal Blade pretty soon, he definitely will be able to. And this Slardar still just struggling to finish another item. This does seem to be the fate of the poor fishman in a lot of cases. Just things go alright in the early game, you get your Blink, you get your BKB, you have a couple of team fights, but you die early, and you just never get anywhere after that because your flash farm is so awful. But Rabbit is still sticking with it, still just dropping off amplified damage and hoping that he can get to his AC farming that way. Moo still has a lot of Bloodstone charges banked. He's got an 8-second BKB and did end up opting for the Shiva's Guard as the grab with that Mystic Staff, but he's looking really good at the moment. But the big problem is going to be this potential Abyssal Blade over on the Phantom Lancer, who looks like he sold something since he now has the Abyssal Blade and 1.3k gold. Heart completed over on the Night Stalker. And despite only keeping the net worth lead at about 10k, more and more items are starting to flow into the pockets of both Air and ZSMJ. No outer towers remaining for Newbee, and this Aegis still remains for another 3.5 minutes here. That should be a lot of time for HGT to go and get some kind of a threat towards the high ground. Newbee, credit to them, did manage to get rid of all of those Radiant Wards that were plaguing their side of the map, so pickoffs are not going to be easy for Newbee, but for HGT, but I think that's still definitely the kind of line of play that they're going for. All of the tier 3 towers, I believe, are still pretty healthy, so no bias there in terms of which one or which lane they're going to be pushing down, and Newbee just doing their best to hammer out these lanes. Moo doesn't actually have a TP scroll at the moment, which is a little bit of a concern, since he can't really drop anything to grab one. He could leave the gem in some random place, but he's actually just going to try and zip all the way back to his base, and just has enough mana to make the entire trip. If he'd landed a little bit short, could have been quite awkward, as HGT were already intercepting the creep wave, and I think looking for him there. But okay, Moo knows the limits of his storm a little bit better than I do, and that is going to be just fine as he keeps applying pressure towards his top lane. Newbee actually wasting a lot of time on this Aegis, making sure that HGT can't get all 3 lanes pushed in simultaneously. Rabbit also living life on the edge. They're going to end up forcing out his BKB there, but HGT slowly but surely making their way up towards this high ground. We're going to keep cleaning things out with some fountain zips and a lot of spam from him. Looks like ZSMJ keen to head up onto the high ground, but the rest of his team not really in agreement. It is still actually daytime for the time being, but Air gonna pop off the darkness. Still a couple of minutes, I think, on this Aegis, but unwilling to try and break the base against the Storm Spirit, who at this point guaranteed has 2 lives, either by buying back or respawning off of the Bloodstone, and Darkseer and Earthshaker, who are both ridiculously good high ground defense heroes. So it looks like for the moment HGT just gonna have to resort to trying to starve out Newbee. Moo is on a little bit of an adventure out on the map, gonna start grabbing a bit of farm out of the Radiant jungle, it would seem, while all this is going on, and getting a little split push done in the meantime. Rabbit does finally manage to grab onto his AC, so it took him an absolute eternity, but he's finally got that one up, and a little bit of extra punching power coming through for this next fight. Air looks like he has finally gotten rid of his Midas. It's not waiting back on the courier. Moo gets charged up and might be in some trouble, gets the zip off, and looks like he's just clicked that one all the way back to the base. Gonna use to get rid of the track, and looks like he is gonna be A-okay. I don't even know if Westbrook doesn't hesitate on the Nether Strike, do they kill him? I didn't see exactly where ZSMJ was, but I think if they drop the Abyssal Blade on his head, he probably dies. I'm just not 100% sure where the PL was in the midst of all of that, but Mu buys some additional space. Newbee, you're only getting the couple of creeps that are trickling into their front door at the moment, so not the most impressive amount of farm. Though we are still staying relatively even, as HGT aren't really being greedy in their utilization of the map either. We're just continuing to de-ward with this gem, making really good use of the Remnant Vision, and whenever he can see multiple HGT heroes on mid, knows that he's safe from sort of any one or two. Just needs to be careful of the Spirit Breaker lockdown into the Abyssal Blade from the Phantom Lancer. PL still has that cheese in his inventory. Well, actually, cheese being passed over to the Phantom Lancer now that the Aegis is faded. So that's what he's got in reserve. Mu comes out of the base, but he's going to get the Abyssal Blade dropped on his head, and they might be able to focus him down in time. Force Staff gets him a little bit further away, but the Nether Strike chases through. They end up losing Pretty Hall, and Mu immediately buying back the wall, sowing a bit of chaos in this fight, but it looks like HGT should still be able to disengage. And they drop a lot of Storm Spirit Bloodstone charges and manage to get his buyback out. It looks like they will still end up losing Kaka at the end of the day, but definitely an exchange that HGT were more than willing to take. And Mu just getting a little bit cocky coming that far outside of the base. He knew that he had 4 staffs backing him up, but the Abyssal Blade stun works out to be long enough to kill him off there. So they know now that well, if they kill the Storm Spirit again, that's going to be a pretty big deal. Moose still has a bunch of Bloodstone charges to at least take some of the bite off of that extra respawn duration, but should still be a little while for him. Maybe just going to keep on stalling and holding the high ground. I guess this is where we mentioned that as much as Slardar farms like a snail, every single item means a lot for him. He's got a stun, he's got minus armor, and he has a bash. And in terms of actually being a late game 6-slot hero, Slardar is up there. You don't normally see it because, again, farms like a snail, but worth keeping in mind as we move a little bit further forward. HGT having to resort to wards like this one just because there is no chance they keep up any standard wards whatsoever against the Storm Spirit gem. Speaking of gems, we've still got one over in the hands of Air, and Mu still carrying one around. I think we've got 3 or 4 gems total in the game at the moment, so still plenty of anti-invis going around for both sides. Roshan, potential respawn in about 30 seconds time. That Lotus Orb is complete for the Skywrath Mage, and I think this is actually the first time I've seen one in a competitive match that at least I've cast for 6.84. So we saw the Nyx Assassin Aghanim Scepter earlier, and now we're going to be seeing a little bit of Lotus Orb, which I'm definitely excited about. Who's got current gold to spend? We've got 6k on the Phantom Lancer, so definitely has a little bit of room to grow item-wise moving forward from this point. BKB starting to dwindle a little bit, but still very valuable. Newbee coming outside of the base, looking for more. Westbrook able to pop off his BKB, turns around, considers the Nether Strike, gets the first hit bash, and charges back into Rabbit and Banana. Are the rest of HGT en route to be able to turn this one around? Westbrook with the Lotus Orb is actually going to be bought a little bit more time. Kaka being focused, but able to continue dropping down tracks, and ZSMJ drops the Abyssal Blade on Rabbit's head and deals with him in a matter of seconds. June with the Vacuum and the Fissure getting some good control done as he's able to force staff down onto the Logan. Sanchung jumps in with the Echo Slam, but Air, the biggest problem for him, actually turns out to be his own illusion. ZSMJ doppels down and continue pursuit as they get the double, and will keep on going after Mu. Has some mana left, but that's going to be his last zip as ZSMJ continues to chase forward. Another charge coming in. Westbrook still alive. I don't think any buybacks out of HGT, but Mu looks like he will end up dropping. Uses the Bloodstone Suicide, but still 60 seconds dead. And HGT find themselves right at the Newbee doorstep. Do we have any Newbee buybacks? There is the one on June. And he's going to use it right now, but still 50 seconds away from having the Wall of Replica back off cooldown. And HGT will continue their march forward. Kaka has somehow found the gold to pick up a Scythe of Ice here. So he's going to be able to keep Newbee Zone back, and they just have to hope that they have a lane of racks remaining once everybody is respawned. ZSMJ laying waste to them at the moment. This is without the AC, this is without the Night Stalker. The bottom lane of racks already gone. They're going to regroup on mid, and this tier 3 is going to fall in a matter of seconds The Phantom Lancer is here, and he is ready to party. Butterfly added to the inventory, and June realizing that he just has to do something to try and stall, kiting them back into the tier 4 towers. Does manage to get the BKB out of ZSMJ. And Newbee still with the 1 lane of racks remaining as they manage to get the Storm Spirit and the Slardar back to life. To at least make some kind of an attempt from this point forward. But I think the Lotus Orb may have actually been the biggest play in that last fight. It let HGT kite the fight a little bit further over into this corner, which let everybody get into position, and honestly just made it a little bit awkward for Newbee. The other thing, of course, Rabbit got Abyssal Blade dropped on his head and he died in a matter of seconds, which is kind of to be expected. He's got less than half of the net worth of the Phantom Lancer right now, and this poor Slardar is just not having the best time here in the late game. But Moo's still 2,800 gold, so might be able to pick up a Lincoln Sphere before too long to help out a little bit with this Abyssal Blade. Phantom Lancer is still sitting on another 5k after purchasing up the Butterfly, so this is looking pretty scary, and Roshan has respawned, so HGT going to take all of that vision advantage that they've got going for themselves right now and look to set up there. Air could buy a second Abyssal Blade for his team if he so desires. Boots of Travel buyback, I think, also a possibility for him at this stage. We'll see what he ends up opting for. But looks like for now, just going to be dealing with all the wards. Fortunately, they have the 1 ranged here on their lineup, so Pretty Haw's able to deal with all of these high ground spots. And I think HGT very thankful that they added at least the Skywrath Mage to the 4 melee squad. They could carry around Quelling Blades, but I mean at this point, we're almost 60 plus minutes in, and it's a little bit of a waste of an inventory slot. Anyway, Westbrook's going for an Aghanim Scepter. We've got another Abyssal Blade picked up for Air, so that's shipping. Another Abyssal Blade, yeah, picked up for Air. So that's shipping out pretty soon. He's going to be taking the Aegis. Cheese is going to be over on your Spirit Breaker, and Newbee are running straight in here. Rabbit comes in, gets the crush off on 1. Banana immediately being focused down. Can't get off any spells. Air standing strong in the midst of this fight, just right-clicking away. He knows he has the Aegis at his back. Move, BKB wearing down. They're just trying to stay inside the wall and keep on fighting there. Westbrook drops off the Nether Strike. Rabbit's still alive for the time being, but ZSMJ is wreaking havoc in the back lines and now is going to rejoin the rest of the fight. Banana's had enough. He's seen enough of the Phantom Lancer army, and Newbee is going to end up GGing out here in the first game against HGT. We just passed 60 minutes. I honestly did not think that HGT's lineup was going to be able to go the distance, but Air with the Midas and all of the farm and all of the track gold turned into a right-clicking monster in the later stages of the game, and ZSMJ 602 GPM for 60 minutes works out to be a lot of items and a hero that Newbee just could not deal with at this late stage. So that's going to wrap it up for Game 1, guys. Stick around, Game 2 coming up next. Hope you've enjoyed all the MarsTV Dota 2 League coverage so far, because we've got way more coming your way.
swing up, brother swing. Come on, the swing begin. Swing up, oh, brother swing. Don't stop, swing begin. Boys and girls, shake your knees and move a feel you crazy or do. Clap your hands, snap your fingers and sing. Bobby, Bobby. Here comes Beanie No dancing ring. Looking for the king of the swing. So clap your hands, snap your fingers and sing. Brother swing. Sing, brother swing. Come on, the swing begin. Sing, brother swing. Don't stop, swing begin. Sing, brother swing. Come on, the swing begin. Sing, brother swing. Don't stop, swing begin. Boys and girls, shake your knees and wiggle for your giddiest dream. Clap your hands, snap a finger and sing. Here comes Beanie No dancing ring, ring. Looking for the king of the swing. So clap your hands, snap a finger and sing. Gotta swing. Sing, brother swing. Come on, the swing begin. Sing, brother swing. Don't stop, swing begin.
Dog got the mighty, let me tell the news. My head got wet in midnight dew. Red God, I've been down on my bending knees, talking to a man from Galilee. My God spoke and he sounded so sweet. I thought I heard the shuffle of angels' feet. He put one hand upon my head. Red God the mighty, let me tell you what he said. Go tell that lonesome liar, go tell that midnight rider, tell the gambling, rambling, backslider, tell him God Almighty gonna cut him down. You might run on for a long time, run on ducking and dodging, run on June for a long time. Let me tell you, God Almighty gonna cut you down. You might throw your rock, hide your hand, work in the dark with your fellow men. Show as God made you rich and poor, you gonna reap just what you sow. You might run
Welcome back, guys! It's MarsTV DoTA 2 League, and this is Game 2 of Hyper Glory Team up against Newbee HGT after a real slogfest in that first game. And do end up coming out ahead on the back of a ZSMJ Phantom Lancer and an Air Night Stalker, though I think
5 seconds
a lot of that on the ZSMJ Phantom Lancer just being able to scale the way that he did into the later stage of the game. And this time around, Banana's not going to be letting that letting that hero through into the pool, as it doesn't get banned out in the first two. We've got Wisp also removed here by Newbee. HGT, pretty familiar ban's going to be getting rid of both the Gyrocopter and the Undying. That's going to let the Spirit Breaker sneak through into the pool for the second game running, and Newbee, no hesitation whatsoever, are going to end up grabbing that one for themselves right here. And in general, draft's playing out pretty similarly to what we saw in the previous game. But I feel, for whatever reason, HGT have something up their sleeve. They're just one of those teams that are always they're always very much about self-determination, it seems. They will go for the meta picks from time to time, but they've always got something else up their sleeve. And I think it can be diluted a little bit by the fact that, you know, for example, when we saw Air and he was really bringing Brewmaster into the spotlight, eventually a lot of other teams started catching on and, you know, mimicking that as well. But they do seem to, you know, they do tend to forge the meta a little bit. So always interesting to watch them at the start of a new patch. I think that Face Rush lineup that they ran is something that they've had up their sleeve from previous patches, but with buffs to Bounty Hunter and some of the other heroes involved, I think it definitely finds new life here in 6.84. But with that said, let's get into the rest of this draft. We've got Earthshaker picked up by Hyper Glory Team along with Shadow Fiend. Newbee going to be grabbing that Rubik, who we've been seeing a heck of a lot of recently, and I'm never unhappy to see Rubik stealing and flinging spells back and just doing his thing in general. So good to see him here in this game. And we are going to be seeing Centaur as well banned out. I feel like teams in general have been putting a lot more importance on this hero in this patch. Of course, the new Aghanim Scepter upgrade is totally ridiculous, but you still need to get the farm up for it. Though I am happy to see Centaur making a little bit of a resurgence, since he was kind of a dead hero for the last little bit. Enchantress is actually going to end up being the ban out from HGT. Queen of Pain also removed, so covering their bases a little bit on some of these bans. At least, especially I would say for the early game aggression. They don't want Shadow Fiend both to be up against the Queen of Pain on mid and to be getting charged by the Spirit Breaker. Since Quap is one of those heroes that can exploit the Spirit Breaker charge the most easily. Lots of other heroes you can kind of read into their positioning and you can say, okay, look, this guy's playing up on me. Spirit Breaker is off the map. I'm probably getting charged. Queen of Pain can be sitting all the way back at her tower. Spirit Breaker can be charging you, and she can blink in from 1300 range and still deal with you just fine. So Shadow Fiend might be able to fish a little bit more information out of whatever mid lane Newbee do end up grabbing. Another familiar face to the draft is going to be the Lina. Again, not too many substantial changes between last patch and this one, so still expecting to see quite a bit of her, and just gives HGT a little bit of extra AoE lockdown to throw into the mix. Don't know if they're going to be running the Earthshaker offlane or support. My gut says support at the moment, so they still got room for both their safe laner and another offlaner here in the pool. And Newbee's still really yet to show us exactly what their lineup is going to be all about. There's still a Dragonite in the pool who's been pretty popular as of late. The Storm Spirit's still there as well. But it looks like Newbee are going to take a slightly different approach as they do go in for the Visage. This is, again, something that LGD have been running a lot. That's sort of the one team that I have is a pretty consistent baseline, having cast the last 5 of their matches. And I would say in general, Newbee's lineups do have a lot in common with what LGD have been running recently. So they've got the opportunity to pick up the Drow Ranger here if they want to make this the
10
slightly
seconds
cheesier
remaining.
flavor of the strat, but Visage in general, definitely one of the heroes that benefited the
5
most
seconds
from last
remaining.
patch, and I think we're just expecting to see more of him in general. And as we see more and more early team fights
Reserve time.
and more of an emphasis on the laning phase, Visage is always going to end up thriving. So HG2 do just end up grabbing a Clockwork, not going to be all that happy up against the Rubik, but it does give them a ton of area denial between the Cogs and the Fisher, so Spirit Breaker is going to have to be a little bit careful about just reining his charges in a little bit. You go charging in, and then HGT close the doors on the rest of your team with Cogs and Fisher, and you're just going to find yourself getting blown up without really too many
10
spells
seconds
being
remaining.
invested. So that is something that he's going to have to be a little bit wary of, but
5 seconds
I think it's
remaining.
fairly obvious, so shouldn't be too much of a problem. And
Reserve
Newbee
time.
are going to have to show us a little bit more of the strat here with this next core pick coming up. Either going to be their mid or your safe lane. And what is looking good here? If they want to go all in for the push, again, Drow's decent. Luna is still there as well. Could also be pretty good if you're looking to go for the 5-man oriented lineup. Same kind of story for your Dragon Knight, but okay, it looks like Newbee just going to be grabbing the Lifestealer for now. Can be a little bit tough for melee heroes like Lifestealer to get around Fisher, to get around Cogs, but he does have the Spirit Breaker to be a vehicle to get him into these fights, so they should hopefully be able to blow up
10
one
seconds
hero
remaining.
right off the bat. Though we'll see what kind of
Newbee's
Lifestealer
turn to
game this is
bat.
going to end up being. It is a hero that we've been seeing a little bit more of recently, but I worry for him a little bit in terms of, okay, Clockwork is just going to be such a nuisance, can buy a first item 4-staff if he really
10
feels like he
seconds
needs
remaining.
it, and all of the other control is going to be a little bit annoying. They do ban out the Slardar as
Team
at least a
pick.
bit of cover, since HGT could definitely look to run that over on the Dire, get fast Roshans, and amplify damage. It's got to be one of the most annoying spells in the game to have thrown on you as Lifestealer, since your base armor is so pitiful to begin with. So I think the Slardar ban makes a lot of sense. HGT worried about another vehicle for the Lifestealer taking up residence in the middle lane, so they're going to end up banning out the Storm
10
Spirit.
seconds
There's
remaining.
still something like a Puck if Newbee want to go that route,
5
but
seconds
Storm
remaining.
Spirit definitely the hero that scales better into the late game of those two
Reserve
options.
time.
I think a solo core Lifestealer, yeah, definitely not going to be all that happy, especially now that he's facing up against the Razor over on the other side. And it looks like Newbee might be getting a little bit of a reminder that everybody played through the Lifestealer patch, everybody was around for his era of dominance, and everybody remembers their favorite counters. Everybody has their Lifestealer counter in the back of their mind. If it's Shadow Demon, or if it's Razor, or if
10
it's,
seconds
I mean, even in some cases, Doom. Everyone's got that list in the back of their heads in terms of what their favorite way is to deal with the Lifestealer. So this is definitely going to require a race car build, I think, from your Nakes here, which is a little bit sad. We're not going to be seeing any of the shiny new items like the Silver Edge on him, but let's see what Newbee are going to do to help fire back here. I think it just has to be,
Templar
yeah, it has to be another core for them. Unfortunately, Templar Assassin also sucks against Razor, and also sucks at getting around fights against Cogs, and also sucks at getting around fights against Fisher. So she is definitely a decent hero to have against the Shadow Fiend. The burst is going to be nice against Razor, but I feel like I do favor HGT's lineup a little bit on the whole here. They've got a pretty much guaranteed mech on their Shadow Fiend, or their Razor, for that matter, if they feel like they want to pick something else up over on old SF. And Newbee's only real way to start off team fights is to get that Spirit Breaker in. Could see a Blink Dagger, of course, in the Templar Assassin, and that could help out a little bit, but I feel like Newbee also, I feel like HGT, sorry, also have slightly the easier to execute lineup on the whole. But anything can happen in Dota, and we'll have to just see how things play out here as we jump ourselves into the game. Over on HGT, up one game in this series, we have Westbrook on Clockwork. We've got Air on Shadow Fiend. Pretty Hot is going to be handling your Lina, Kaka is going to be on Earthshaker, and ZSMJ will be over on your Razor. Meanwhile, for Newbee, June on Spirit Breaker, packing a mango in his lunchbox at the moment. We've got Moo on the Templar Assassin, going to be heading towards mid. Banana with some boots first on Rubik, looking to catch out the Clockwork here and give him a little bit of a rough time. They've also got boots first on this Rabbit Lifestealer, and Westbrook just trying to get far enough out that he can cast these cogs. And it looks like he should be alright. Stat Shield
30 seconds
helping him out quite a bit there, and unfortunately won't be able to get his ward down, but should still be able to come over and place it down somewhere here or something like that. Could even go back and completely heal up at the fountain and maybe put the ward on the courier and let somebody else place it just so it's a little bit less obvious in terms of what he's up to. And Westbrook not even going to make the trip back to the fountain, actually just going to pop a salve. Wants this creep block more than he wants the 100 gold. And just going to ferry out another salve to himself on the courier, so little adjustment for him for the off lane, but I think that should be just fine. We've got a bounty rune for each mid laner at the moment. I think Newbee do definitely have kill potential on the Shadow Fiend mid if they rotate over with their supports, but always have to keep in mind the fact that Kaka could just have a TP scroll and be ready to TP in with the Fissure counter initiation, so that does make life a little bit more difficult. Really nice block here for Air on the mid lane, is going to put things right over on his hill and give him a slightly easier start to the lane here. Even getting the initial CS, went for the first point up in the Necromaster. I think a lot of people in this matchup these days do kind of go for the early point in the Shadow Rays, but with the way that the block went, still going to get the level 2 really quickly and shouldn't be too much of a problem for him from this point forward. Even having to man down on the Templar Assassin is HGT Air, just going to be able to pick up some easy CS. So, yeah, it's a nice start for the mid lane there. HGT also have a lane ward down up on top, so Pretty Haw abusing that long auto attack range to its fullest just to zone back the Spirit Breaker a little bit. And Banana actually running around back behind enemy lines at the moment. Might have been looking for a courier or something, but I mean, given that the Shadow Fiend has a Wraith Band. Okay, looks like he was actually ferrying at some Tangas, so might have been able to get it there, but unfortunately not in the right place at the right time. Westbrook might be caught out here. The Lifestealer is not ready to help, so just going to be the cogs dropped down. Actually gets lifted out of them, and now might be in a little bit of trouble. The Grave Chills come in as well. Banana going to keep on auto-attacking. He's only level 1, however, so that last little bit of damage from the Fade Bolt is not going to be there, and unfortunately Sunshine unable to get off a final auto attack as well. Tango Salve is going to be just fine to heal up. He actually did something a little bit sneaky and dropped his Observer Wards over in the trees, so from the perspective of Newbee, they think he's placed the ward and they might waste a sentry looking for it, but he's actually just saving it to place it down a little bit later on. So pretty smart play from Westbrook. You see this occasionally from support players dropping their smokes behind towers or dropping anti-invis back in fog when you're up against the lane with a bounty hunter, say, where they'll play up a little bit more aggressively. Somebody who's really paying attention is going to see the courier go mid and tell themselves, okay, look, they can't have gotten any anti-invis delivered, and they don't have any, and then you just pick it up from the fog and you go and kill them. So definitely a play that does more against attentive players. Kaka Invis Rune is going to be able to punch down the courier, and that's 1150 net worth denied, even if he dies for the first blood here, which it looks like it is going to end up being his fate. I think he's just fine with that, even going to be able to spend a little bit of his courier bounty, and he's got enough reliable gold at this stage that the death isn't even going to end up mattering too much. Banana does manage to grab the first blood, but I think that was both... That's probably both boots and bottle for Moo. And, well, for at least the next 2 minutes, that's going to be mid lane over for the time being. Was starting to build up a little bit of a lead, but Shadow Fiend's got his bottle, Shadow Fiend's got plenty of mana, and, well, Shadow Fiend still has a living courier right now, so poor Moo is in the doldrums a little bit, but should still be able to make a recovery from this point forward. Though Templar Assassin, definitely a very momentum-based hero on the whole, and Air realizing that he is now super far ahead in this mid lane and just going to exploit it to its fullest, forcing Templar Assassin back at every single opportunity. What's June up to? Is he going to come and salve Mango? Moo? No, okay, he's just taking over mid lane Moo's heading back to the fountain. He's just going to chill out there for a little bit. And they're going to give some experience to the Spirit Breaker. June actually doing pretty well on the whole in terms of levels. Pretty much keeping par with Westbrook over on the Clockwork right now, who is zoning the supports away from the 4-minute rune. So he's going to be able to grab that bounty for himself. And it looks like HGT going to secure the double damage rune for Shadow Fiend as well. He's feeling particularly generous, probably going to give it a couple of sips here and there, give one to Pretty Haw, and then top his bottle back off. Absolutely no problem. In terms of overall CS, Razor looking pretty good. Has his phase boots picked up so far. Lifestealer probably in a very similar situation. Yep, phase boots residing in that #1 spot in the inventory. And in terms of any kind of overall lead, there isn't really much to show here, as we're only 4.5 minutes into the game. So I do have my concerns for Newbee, however. At least Banana has a little bit of something to work with here with that first blood gold, so we'll be able to grab some fast tranks or some fast arcanes for himself. But Newbee making a somewhat weird rotation. This is definitely not expected from the HGT perspective. Making their way up towards top lane to see if they can find a kill on the opposing safe lane. It looks like Banana not feeling all that, feeling a little bit pessimistic about the whole thing. And it's going to call the gank off. Meanwhile, Fisher comes in mid lane. Moo just going to try and hide inside the meld. Manages to get the refraction up one more time, but HGT looks like still going to be able to right-click him down. Meld dodges another auto attack, and the lift from Banana coming in at just the right time to turn that gank around. Will not be HGT's first kill of the game. And Moo able to stem the bleeding a little bit here on mid. Gets the refraction up once again as another Fisher flies in. But that refraction gets chewed through, and Air's just looking for one last auto attack. Fortunately, Newbee have both of their supports at the ready on mid and are going to be able to fend off that aggression. June in pretty deep here on the top lane, should be able to find a charge away, so I think he's going to be just fine. Just loses some damage for his trouble, but even able to stick around here and might be able to soak some of this experience, though. It does look like HGT kind of have this lane under control. 6-minute rune battle coming up. Kaka actually able to end up snagging that bounty, so nice grab for him there. And looks like he's not going to end up being punished. I think Clockwork did finally get around to placing his ward. Looks like he did. So retrieving that one from the tree line. Sunshine coming in mid lane. No, doesn't have any wards at the moment. Looks like he's just trying to get something done. But well, he's been scouted this entire time by a dire observer and not going to be able to do anything. Newbee, big 4-man gank coming in mid lane. The trap slowing down Air. June going to bounce him a little bit further back towards the tower. They do manage to get off the meld tip, but the stun comes in from Pretty Haw and it lands on 2. Fisher as well. Air turns it around. Does manage to get off the one raise, but still ends up dropping. Moo with the meld dodge. Buying a little bit more space to continue bottling up as he throws down the trap. What looks like this last auto attack not going to be enough. The refraction comes up once again. Kaka trying to use the clarity to get to another Fisher, but he's not going to be able to. And it only ends up being a 1-for-1, as it does end up being a Newbee favored fight overall. Moo living with the smallest sliver of health there, and refraction pretty much always coming up at the perfect time for him as well. The most impressive play, I think, has been what he's been doing with the meld. I think a little bit of an oversight from HGT not getting their sentry wards to mid ASAP once the Templar Assassin reached level 6, because I think without that full charge trap going off, the Shadow Fiend is probably just fine. So a bit of delay on that does end up costing him his life, and all the little things do always end up mattering when it comes to Dota. June just gonna back up a long way as HGT come in for the push here. Bassi turned on by ZSMJ. Hasn't shown us just yet what the item build is going to be. Given that the Shadow Fiend is going for a mech, might end up going for might just end up going for a drum and then probably into a BKB or something along those lines. This is it even that good of a BKB game? A lot of Newbee's damage is not magical at all. Charge coming in, Pretty Haw, lift to follow it up. Looks like Newbee should be able to grab this kill. Kaka opens up a bit more space with the Fisher, but poor Pretty Haw still caught on the wrong side of that one, and Newbee will commit 5 heroes top lane to hold onto their tier 1 tower and to get that kill over on the Lina. Air able to get some good farm over on mid in the meanwhile, and Clockwork, Westbrook also going to be pretty happy with how that plays out, as it looks like he is going to be able to grab his level 6 down on bot before too long. So I think still alright for HGT, and they are starting to nickel and dime a bit of a lead together. 750 experience and about 500 gold. They do manage to block June on the right side of the Fisher up top, and With that drain as well, ZSMJ finds himself a pretty easy kill. Just a solitary soul assumption thrown back in Kaka's face, but not going to be nearly enough to find that kill. And wow, actually, ZSMJ feeling a little bit bold, feeling a little bit brave. He's going to end up going for a Midas this game. Looks like he wants to do what Air did in the last game, get that mad farm, be the number one on net worth for a very long time. And well, with the pace of the game at the moment, I think this is honestly just fine. He's probably looking at Rabbit's inventory as well, though Rabbit isn't playing things too greedily at the moment. 10 CS behind the Razor, but he did TP top to participate in that gank, so I think to be expected that he's a little bit behind on CS right now. Moo, you get to show us what exactly he's going to be building up as his courier is coming in on mid lane. Stun comes out, Moo gets cogged up. Both teams with plenty of heroes in the mid lane, and I think that's just going to be that. The Dire do have a sentry ward down, and it is spotting out this Radiant Obs, which I think Air would like to deal with, but his supports have forsaken him for the time being, so he's just going to have to play it pretty safe and wait for his chance to farm underneath this tower. But a bit of a battle coming up for the 10-minute room. Pretty Hot is getting charged. The SMJ's in here, but he doesn't have enough mana for the drain, and Pretty Hot now in a bunch of trouble. Pops the stick charges, should be able to get off one last stun, but ZSMJ switching targets, looking for more. Nice hook in from Westbrook, but Moo does have the meld, and looks like no anti-invis here for HGT. Air going to try and drop a couple of raises, but he's going to be brought down by Sansheng, who finds a double. Those birds coming up big in this first big clash of the game. And yeah, HGT just going to end up losing to Newbee, now leading 5-2, and that's definitely a situation where I think ZSMJ regrets the Midas. A wand, or even the Aquila, or a bracer towards a drum, or any item with some stats on it means that he gets the link off, and they probably get the kill on the Spirit Breaker with the Lina lockdown, but having to wait for the regen to come back does end up costing them. And another issue with carrying enough anti-invis there for HGT. They're really getting punished by this meld, and hopefully going to start seeing some dust and some more sentries on the HGT supports. I guess Kako was just working on its arcane boots, so that's why wards and dust have been a little bit scarce, but should be able to start picking up the slack a little bit for his team here. Westbrook, decent levels, but not the most amazing amount of farm on the clockwork right now. Pretty Hot is going to be spotted out by June. He's going to start laying in with a chain bash. Doesn't mention get up the light strike array, but Sansheng is just around the corner, and June realizing that he can probably save the 80-second cooldown and just hand the dominating streak over to the Visage, who is slowly creeping his way up the net worth at the moment. And could start to see Aghanim Scepter, Solar Crest, definitely all kinds of items that Sansheng's going to be able to go for here. Vision for the Radiant, definitely a lot better than the Dire, who do not have a single ward on the map right now. That's going to make this smoke even more deadly as Banana and Sansheng rotate their way topside. Razor not all that tanky with his Midas, and does need to be a little bit careful. That Nether Strike is still in reserve, but it looks like Newbee are going to end up being revealed, and the smoke yank will be dodged successfully by ZSMJ. Moo sticking around a mid lane, has a double damage bottled. Westbrook looking for the angle here on the hook. Do they have any anti-invis? Still no. So, I mean, even if they land the hook, they're in no way getting this kill. And it looks like it's going to end up being a little bit of wasted time for HGT. Do have some sentries picked up now by Kaka, and they are going to end up going for a 4-man smoke with this freshly acquired mech. So ready to try and make something happen. ZSMJ still just farming away on the top side. And these three heroes still perched waiting to try and find the kill on him. Moo gonna get Fisher blocked. Is he stuck on the trees? They're gonna come in with the hookshot as well. They just want this kill 100% guaranteed, and it looks like they are going to be able to get it. Charge coming in from June. Westbrook getting a little bit split off from the pack right now, and his cogs are still on cooldown. The mech's going to keep him healthy for a little bit longer, but the rage lasting just long enough to dodge the light strike array, but the Fisher comes in. Rabbit and June now pinned in between two Fishers. Banana comes in from the back lines. Buyback from Moo. Wants to get involved. Nice familiar drops, opening up a little bit of space, and Rabbit with those phase boots and a drum charge is going to be able to evade ZSMJ for the time being. Moo does not get anything out of the buyback there, unfortunately. So that's going to end up being the biggest issue with that fight, and overall trade does end up HGT favored. 700 gold for them, and coming out the better, 600 experience ahead of Newbee's 1.2k. And Templar Assassin actually just buying up a Desolator recipe before going down in that last fight. So I guess that is Mu showing us what exactly he's going to be going for this game. Since with the recipe picked up, it's a little bit late to back down now. Though the recipe is cheaper, so if he decides he needs a Blink Dagger or something else, could end up going for it. We've got a charge coming in, but Westbrook wants to try and turn this one around. Hooks right onto a DD Templar Assassin. We've got an X made of fissures in the middle of this fight as Banana steals it, but it splits things up awkwardly. Mu trapped in the middle of no man's land. And just gonna be Laguna bladed and raised down. Bursted into nothing. Echo Slam gets fired off as well, and they even managed to find Banana back behind the tier 1 tower. HGT, 3 quick kills in succession. And the rest of Newbee nowhere to be found to try and turn this one around. Rabbit still just farming up down on bottom lane. Looks like he had a little bit of a skirmish with the Razor at some point. And HGT just going to continue this push in on the middle lane. Mu's farm has somewhat stalled. Last couple of fights are really not going his way.
Radiant structures are
Looks like
fortified.
HGT will not be able to grab this tier 1 tower just yet, but starting to swing that lead back. 1,500 net worth their advantage. And about 1,500 experience as well. Maybe really good warding around the map, but they've not been able to make any aggressive moves off of it. And unfortunately, this Midas is starting to really kick into gear for ZSMJ as he opens up the gap between himself and even the closest farmer on his team. Air definitely playing this a lot more team-oriented, but honestly, I feel like that's just the kind of player that he is. With his Brewmaster, with his Night Stalker, his approach to the game is definitely a lot more, okay, I'm gonna go and do stuff with my team and get things done that way. And the Mech SF definitely suits that role as well. Coming down towards bottom, tower is gonna end up being last hit by Rabbit, feeling somewhat confident with his ability to rage TP here, but I don't think it's gonna be enough. The hookshot flies in, it's only gonna be a couple of auto attacks to bring him down. No creeps in the neighborhood, so will not be able to infest and live through that one. And HGT pick up an easy kill and might look to transition this into a tier 1 tower. Newbee have gotten into a pretty good position on both mid and top lane. It looks like they are going to be threatening both of those buildings at the same time. And it is actually going to pull HGT away from bottom. So they get the kill, but looks like they won't be able to transition it into anything. And Newbee's still getting something done at the same time. June's picked up some Gloves of Haste, so looks like he could potentially be going for a Midas of his own. The HGT just going to charge over to mid, and in one fell swoop both hold their mid tower, and looks like take Newbee's mid tower at the same time. ZSMJ is showing bottom lane, so Newbee going to come charging in here and see if they can get something done. Banana looking for the lift. Kaka might be in a little bit of trouble. The Fisher's being stolen, but the Laguna Blade comes up and onto the high ground, and they completely stop the Spirit Breaker from charging in. Echo Slam gets dropped. Looks like Kaka is going to end up going down, but 1 for 1 and only losing the support Earthshaker. Not too bad. The stolen Fisher catches on 4, and the single trap going to keep everybody on HGT slowed up, but they're just going to retreat in formation. And looks like they're going to be just fine. Somebody pinging like, hey guys, can we go for bot instead? Oh, it's 1 hit from dying. Okay, let's just send 1 guy to go for that, and we can go get something else done. So looks like Air probably just gonna run straight at the tower. The glyph is back up since the mid tier 1 went down, so he does need to be at least a little bit careful about what he does here. There you go. Okay, there's the glyph. Here comes the TPs. Air does manage to get it. Banana gonna go for the lift. Is anyone else coming in? Sunshine is there. Charge as well on its way. Mech's already been used. And HGT just running the Earthshaker in at the moment. Regen Rune buying Air a little bit of extra HP. And Kaka at the ready with the Fisher. And HGT actually have more heroes inbound as well. Westbrook jams in the long-range hookshot. June trying to get the Nether Strike off, but the battery assault prevents it, and Clockwork turning into Earthshaker's greatest ally there. Banana gets off the lift, well, actually the stolen Fisher. ZSMJ is still going to be able to chase him down, gets his BKB delivered, and with 140 stolen damage, that's still pretty scary at the moment. Mu does finish up his Desolator, taking down that tier 1 tower on the mid lane, and Rabbit split pushing top in the meantime, but this Lifestealer still cannot attend fights. There is absolutely nothing that he can do about the Razor, and I feel like Newbee are probably shaking their heads a little bit about the Lifestealer pick. What did they ban? They banned I don't even remember what they banned last after they picked Lifestealer, but Captain Hindsight obviously says there was definitely a pretty good case for banning the Razor this game. Templar Assassin with the Desolator is going to be unable to take this Roshan. It looks like ZSMJ and the rest of HGT are going to beat them to the punch. They've got all the vision in the world defending the pit at the moment, and even an Invis Clockwork ready to break any incoming smoke. So it looks like Newbee are just going to have to sit on their hands, and HGT are going to be taking this one. Looks like Aegis going to be going to the Shadow Fiend. ZSMJ feeling pretty happy with his Aghanim Scepter and well, with his BKB and probably his incoming point booster towards his Aghanim Scepter in terms of survivability. So he's looking good right now. And what can Newbee do? They've still managed to trade evenly in terms of towers, so net worth discrepancy not as bad as it could be. At this point in the game, only 2k in favor of HGT and about 3k experience there as well. But they've got that first item force staff up on Westbrook, and that just made the Lifestealer and the Templar Assassin's lives even that little bit harder. As the Death Ball is just going to start moving around. Moo going to try and put this Desolator to good use and get some damage done up on the top tier 2 tower, but
top tower is under attack.
I mean, how did that thing aggro onto the ward? That's weird. I guess it was because he was aggroed and then they smoked, but that I don't know if I've ever seen a neutral creep attacking a ward, and that kind of gives away the fact that there's a mysterious sentry here, but oh well. There's a first time for everything, even after 10k hours of playing and casting. What do you know? Anyway, Rabbit getting scattered out by the remnants of the flare. He's got a rage TP, but does need to be a little bit worried about the Clockwork hookshot. It looks like he's managed to dodge HGT for the time being, and Phase plus drums are going to be able to get him back to safety. Tier 2 falls bot with no answer top lane. Only the slightest bit of damage dealt by Moo. We've now got a Blink Dagger picked up for Kaka on this Earthshaker, so he's doing really nicely in terms of farm. And Lina just picking up the slack in terms of making sure that they've got those wards and the sentries at the ready. I don't want to see another Moo survives for 10 seconds in Meld, because there are no sentry wards in HGT. I think that would be a little bit silly given how well they've played pretty much every single aspect of this game, aside from the keeping the ward coverage up. But with Aegis and double damage on the Shadow Fiend, Air has nothing to fear and comes in to start muscling down this tier 2 tower. Westbrook waiting up on the high ground, ready to jam the hook. Has the force staff to get himself back out to safety as well. The Midas now complete on the Spirit Breaker. 21 minutes into the game, but Banana just sitting on a... Well, he's got a force staff, which is definitely pretty good for him right now. Unfortunately ends up stealing the enchant totem, so not the best grab. Familiar is going to come in and look for the deny, but no such luck as Air does end up grabbing that last hit. Bottom lane getting pushed in a little bit by the natural momentum of the Radiant creeps, so JSMJ going to go down and deal with that. He is a mere 1k gold away from finishing up his Aghanim Scepter. And I think HGT have honestly just locked in cruise control at this point. I don't know how Newbee take a head-on engagement. Rabbit getting jumped top lane. Is going to be able to turn things around a little bit. Turns on the armlet, looks for Kaka, but the Force Staff will continue to be the bane of Lifestealer's existence. Does get the kill with the infest damage, but looks like he's still going to end up trading his life for it. Echo Slam was used in the midst of all of that. But I think HGT is still pretty happy with the trade overall. And Air still pressing forward here. The rest of his team a little bit more cautious. Pretty high on Westbrook. Healing up on the back lines, ZSMJ all by his lonesome on mid. Does need to be a little bit careful. Charge is coming in. He's got his BKB. And the rest of Newbee is a little ways away to be able to do anything. So it's going to end up being a somewhat ineffective charge from June. As it looks like Big Bad Razor is going to be joining the rest of his team up on top. Still 20 seconds away from the Lifestealer respawn, and HGT still have another minute remaining on this Aegis, so this tier 2 tower is pretty much theirs 100%. There is a glyph for Newbee, so the Aegis isn't going to get them anything of the high ground, but they're still just building up this lead. Lifestealer has his armlet, probably still needs to pick up his SNY as the next item. Needs any kind of move speed that he can get to be able to get away from this Razor, especially with this MJ still hanging on to a 10-second BKB. I think the biggest play at the moment that Rubik can probably make is steal Fisher, block the Razor, and then force staff his Lifestealer to break the link, or force staff the Templar Assassin as the case may be. If they can prevent the static link from getting any value, they all of a sudden actually have a second hero in these fights instead of Lifestealer or Templar Assassin being reduced to a 0 with that static link. So I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for Rubik on those plays. June, Midas is getting him some levels. He's gonna be able to get his rank to Nether Strike pretty soon, but HGT doing a really good job of starving out Newbee at the moment. In terms of vision, we've got wards here, there, and everywhere. Oh, June charging through the ward vision. Bet they wish the Hill Troll had killed that one off earlier, and he's gonna get blocked by both the Fisher and the hookshot flying in. Banana, right place, right time. Gonna pop off the force staff, and June is going to be able to survive through that one. But I don't know what Newbee can do at this point. They can keep farming, but I don't know if there's any singular item that saves things for them. We've got a gem now picked up on the Lena, so Pretty Hog going to continue to cinch the noose as HGT slowly encroach further and further onto the Newbee side of the map. And, well, Rabbit is at least getting a bit of split pushing done, but does need to be careful. Kaka's back on the hunt. Westbrook a little bit further over towards mid lane. Do they have vision on this Lifestealer? They saw him rounding the corner earlier. They think he's farming this camp. He's actually just waiting on the cliff. Yeah, Rabbit does definitely need to be careful at the moment. And CSMJ's gonna spot him out. Run, Rabbit, run. Gonna try and find a nice little spot in the trees, but he's already been scattered out by the flare. Needs to dodge the hook here, or at least try and wait it out and then go for the Rage DP, but gets stunned up. Laguna Blade dropped in his head, and won't even end up getting the rage off as he goes down for the second time in the same place up here over on the top lane.
Dire's top tower is under
So Lifestealer dead for 50 seconds. I think HGT is still waiting around for the next Roshan, so this isn't going to be incentive enough for them to go for any kind of a push, but definitely going to be glad to slow down the Lifestealer's farm even further. And HGT just going to continue sitting back and farming up. Moo, this time around there's a sentry ward, and they are once again going to be able to drop another Newbee core as Air extends himself into a killing spree. He has picked up a Yasha, so looks like it's going to be a Manta style before too long for him. Sansheng in the meanwhile has been taking quite a bit of farm over in the Radiant jungle, so he's going to have his Aghanim Scepter coming up pretty soon to go with his rank 2 ultimate, but nothing else really looking all that good for Newbee. Templar Assassin getting closer to a BKB. Lifestealer after that death is not close at all to his SNY, and HGT just moving around as a kill squad. Nothing to really threaten them at the moment. They scout things out a little bit. Fisher comes in. Westbrook no hook for 10 seconds. And just going to be force staffing Kaka back to safety. Rubik does end up actually getting the steal on the Fisher and all of that, so the potential Fisher block force staff plays are somewhat possible for the next 180 seconds, so 3 minutes of Banana having that up. They at least have a Templar Assassin trap over in the pit, but what neither team knows is the fact that this is going to be an extremely long Roshan respawn, so Newbee at least getting a little bit of extra farm. This time around it's June who's going to be taking the farm top, since it looks like Rabbit is sick of these deaths on top lane. But it looks like June might be the one who gets killed off this time around. June actually just going to go in looking for the kill, I think realizing that he's dead, but the rest of HGT are here to back up the Lina. And well, same place as the last two. HGT will find one more kill on the top side. So SMJ has picked up a plate mail. I honestly think that this might be a Shiva's Guard, though AC obviously amazing as well, with all of the presence of the Dark Lord and the hitting of buildings and the Newbee being down by just so much gold and so much net worth at the moment. It's not that much for 30 minutes in, but the question is, does the net worth on the Lifestealer or the Templar Assassin matter at all, and I'm personally still not convinced. We'll see if Newbee can find some kind of pick-off to start a fight, get the ball rolling that way. If they can somehow blow up the Razor, hats off to them, but 17 armor, 1800 health, looking pretty survivable, and I think they're about to have double Force Staff backing him up. Moo this time around will not be caught split pushing, finds a little nook in the trees, and is going to be able to TP out. So maybe stretching the map as much as they possibly can to prevent these graphs looking any worse. I think they are doing a good job of the farm allocation. Moo pushes up bot, they come over, they make use of their ancients, they've been clearing out the 2 camps that they have consistent access to every single time, pretty much, and as much as they are dying by pushing top lane, they don't really have too many other plays. So I don't want to make it seem like, oh, you know, Newbee being silly pushing top. It's just unfortunately a symptom of the situation that they find themselves in, that they have to go for the slightly greedier farm, and they are occasionally going to be punished for it. They do find a little bit of an opening here to come in and push the tier 2 tower around up on top lane. Desolator making pretty quick work of it. Air gonna TP in, just gonna work on the familiars. As one does end up dropping. June just waiting around the corner, so this MJ, if they can burst him, that's the fight that they're looking for, but Westbrook comes surging in, and Moo now completely trapped. Fisher is gonna end up pushing him out. Another Fisher flies in, and Banana attempts the Force Staff, but that was not the play that I was talking about. June also caught on the back lines, and will also be brought down. HGT hold onto the tier 2 tower. Roshan's popped back up, and I think with those 2 dead, HGT gonna go and grab that right this second. I don't even know. I don't think Newbee could have fought them for it anyway, but still gonna be able to go and grab that. Westbrook gonna scout out a double damager in here. Is he gonna consider giving it to the Shadow Fiend? It looks like SF's still all the way over by the pit, so Westbrook just gonna claim that prize for himself. He's 700 gold away from picking up his Aghanim Scepter. As we've seen, that Ags is up over on Sanshang and doing his best to split push a little bit with the birds right now, but 30 minutes into the game, Lifestealer is finally going to be able to finish up his S and Y. We do have a gem over on Banana, so maybe should be able to reclaim a little bit of map control. Find this Dire Ward that's been scouting them out for the last 4 or 5 minutes. And we should be able to deal with it. Feels like, yep, Banana, pay attention. There's a ward here. It is going to be the Aegis over on the Razor, so it looks like he's going to be the one sieging the high ground for the most part. And Hyperstone is picked up, so it looks like it's going to be your AC for the Razor at the end of the day. Familiar's still doing a pretty good job, but Pretty Hog going to come in and clean things out a little bit. Do they have some stacks? Yes, they do, so getting a little bit of extra damage on this tower. First stun, second stun, third stun. It's in deny range now, so I think that's just what Pretty Hog is gonna do. And let's see if they can get any familiars here. They can get the vision off of the plasma field as well, but don't even need it. Just gonna pop all 3. And the familiar is actually on cooldown for 2+ minutes. I mean, they have to have known that because they killed 1 up top, and then they saw 3 there, so they know that he resummoned in between them killing the 1 and killing the 3. And that means that they have a pretty good idea that Sanshang has no birds for quite some time. And this is about the best Aegis opportunity that I think HGT could hope for. We've got another ultimate orb for Air, so it looks like probably a Scotty coming up for him before too long, which is only going to make the Templar Assassin and Lifestealer's lives even sadder. And now Clockwork as well with the Aghanim Scepter is going to be able to wreak some havoc with repeatable hook shots. So, and with the Force Staff as well, I think Westbrook can actually get multiple hook shots off in a fight. That's sometimes the issue with the Ag's Clockwork, that it just doesn't really change anything because you hook in and you die and it doesn't matter, but especially when you're talking about a Rage Lifestealer and a BKB TA, multiple BKB piercing stuns are definitely a very big deal. So Sanjay gonna cop some harassment here on the front lines, but still has his Aegis backing him up, so he's just gonna keep on tanking through. Air also up there on the front. Got a regen rune to back off if he takes a little bit of damage. Mech is gonna end up being used. Moo, just the solitary auto attack to try and buy some space. The Sideblade Spill also going back out, but HGT. June actually gets caught outside of the base. Did they force tap him out of there? Looks like they might have. Westbrook also sliding in there. A couple of Fishers flying here, there, and everywhere. Westbrook gonna go hooking in on top of the Rubik. ZSMJ low and will be finished off by the Soul Assumption. HGT just gonna fight around the Aegis for the time being. As Rabbit tries to find an angle back in, the static link was broken relatively early, so maybe do have at least that going their way as they look to take another fight here. But it looks like HGT might just back themselves up. They didn't really invest too many cooldowns, and it's actually the Regoose. The AC has been delivered, and they're just hoping to catch somebody poking their head a little bit too far outside of the base. Is that hero going to be Rabbit? They get the Fisher, they get the hook, but he's got the Infest and the Rage available. Just needs to chop his way through the cogs, but DSMJ charges straight in on top of Mukaka, looking for the lockdown as well, as we run into a little patch of lag. Okay, so it looks like it might not have just been me. I thought my frame rate was just dropping, but it looks like it might actually be the server struggling at the moment. So we're gonna wait around. Another strike has been started over on the Earthshaker. He hasn't used his Echo Slime yet. His Force Staff and his Blink Dagger are both on cooldown. So Kaka's gonna die. ZSMJ is blocked in by this Rubik Fisher at the moment. So I think he's probably gonna die as well. Clockwork's Force Staff is on cooldown. Pretty high as a Yule Scepter to buy a little bit of space. Shadow Fiend has still got everything in his arsenal. And he does have a mech available as well. Actually, that's going to keep ZSMJ pretty healthy for the time being. They do end up losing that Earthshaker, but still working away on the racks. Lift up on ZSMJ. June charging in. Air popping off his BKB. But they do lose the Razor pretty quickly. Westbrook looks like he might drop to the Soul Assumption. And a little bit of damage from the birds does manage to hook a little bit further away. But Newbee finding some kills. 3 down so far. Westbrook gonna try and TP out, does manage to do so just in the nick of time, and Newbee, despite taking substantial damage on their melee barracks, it's gonna heal back up, and they take a 3-0 fight. 6.3k experience and 3.3k gold is going to be their reward, and well, showing if HGT split up too much, Newbee can still deal out some punishment and can still win these team fights. Mu managing to lay in with quite a few auto attacks, and looks like Newbee might actually get quite a bit on the swing back as well. Razor dead for 30 seconds. There is a glyph available, but Desolator along with the Lifestealer right click is going to make quick work of this tower. And HGT... looks like SMJ maybe still having some lag concerns or something else. Not 100% sure. Hopefully we can proceed without too many issues. Air is going to get his Scotty pretty soon, so definitely another big item coming up there. Ultimate Orb by itself, not all that impressive for 2100 gold, but that was really good for Newbee. They're going to bring it back to only a 10k deficit. Experience moving back up as well. This might is starting to kick in for June to grab a little bit of farm. Sanshang even going to be able to go over and finish up this Solar Crest. So big grab there for him, and the Lifestealer, despite taking a million years to finish up his SNY, now is another 3k gold on top of that to start working in towards another item. So could start seeing an AC or an Abyssal Blade, or actually the world is kind of Rabbit's oyster at the moment. I think AC is potentially the more likely item. It means that if you win a fight at your base, you've got even more of an opportunity to go and wipe out the opponent's base with a Desolator on the TA, and also helps you deal with the presence of the Dark Lord and the AC making you pretty squishy, since you still pretty much only got the armlet for armor right now. But Scotty's come out. HGT could wait around for the next Roshan, but it's going to be quite a while, so it looks like they're keen to just charge in straight through mid lane and finish up this lane of racks if they can. Rabbit showing his face top lane, reminding them that there is still a little bit of pressure on the other side of the map, but HGT with this new item pickup are keen to just go right in. BKB and a Basher, so Newbee buying up for this fight, not going to have any buybacks ready to throw into this one. This MJ Solar Crested, they're going to charge in, they've got the Lifestealer Bomb loaded up as well, they're going to pop out and try and burst down the Razor. Mechs and keep him healthy, and Westbrook comes in with the cogs, keeps the Lifestealer away from the Razor, and now they can turn focus and bring down Rabbit. Good Force Staff from Banana, going to open up a bit more space. As HGT considering whether or not they actually want to go in further for this one. ZSMJ copped a lot of damage. There is an Urn Charge to heal him back up a little bit, but looks like the call is just going to be back themselves up and come and finish this lane of racks another day. There's 4 HP remaining on the ranged barracks right now, so Newbee could deny that at the slightest provocation, but they're doing a really good job of holding the high ground for the time being. I think if Westbrook doesn't come in with those big cog plays, ZSMJ definitely dies, and then Newbee can just choose to retreat back up the high ground and be totally unconcerned. So, does that mean more items? We've got crit up for Moo. We've got another 1200 after the basher on the lifestealer. They gambled a little bit by buying up 2 items before going into that fight, but definitely seeing to pay off dividends there. Kaka's going to grab a gem just to maintain a little bit more control of the map, but in terms of vision, neither team really has all that much right now. Banana actually after that able to pick up a Glimmer Cape and a Gem of True Sight of his own, so we're picking up item after item this game. We do have a Blink Dagger to go along with the Yule Scepter on this lead. A little bit surprised to see the Blink. Honestly, I thought Pretty Haw might just start working straight towards an Aghanim Scepter, but looks like he's hoping to get a bit more involved with some of the initiation here. Sunshine, little excursion over to the Roshan pit. Another fairly long duration respawn here, as we're going to be waiting 2.5 minutes for Roshan to pop back up. HGT have gone for a smoke, and everything's in a decent position. They're going to hook through, and they do manage to find the Visage. Lacuna Blade also slices in, and that is going to be the end of him. Might be the end of his familiars as well. Unable to resummon them. Looks like HGT are going to be able to clean them up. A bit more stuttering. Hopefully this is gonna vanish. ZSMJ, I think he's unimpressed about the stuttering as well. I don't know what's going on.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
What are we okaying? Or is there gonna be a reload from save? Is there? I'm confused. Anyway, let's proceed. So, Sarge gonna pop back up. Roshan about 1.5 minutes away. Rabbit might be able to finish his Abyssal Blade before HGT come a knocking again. I don't know if they try and contest Roshan. Might be able to consider it, but it's tough. It's just whether or not the high ground advantage is what's actually keeping them kind of in this right now. And I don't really think it is, but Newbee have been playing really well around the ramp and kiting back and forth and whatnot. So we'll have to see. ZSMJ, next item for him, might be considering something like a heart just so that he's able to siege that little bit better. If he feels like it's just the right clicks that are doing him in, the heart's not going to do all that much against the lifestealer, of course, but I don't know if you go for something like a butterfly here. It is obviously a lot of survivability and a lot more armor, but he might feel like hit points are actually the issue here. I'm not 100% sure. Could just buy another Scotty, honestly. Not too bad in this situation. Gives him a bit of offense, bit of defense. Moo gets hooked. Westbrook tracking him inside the cogs. Moo trying to find an angle of escape, but won't be able to. HGT swarm into the space and bring down one and the Yules. Spots up Banana, able to force staff a little bit further away, but that second hook shot flies from Westbrook. And they're going to find 2 kills. Roshan has just respawned, and a little bit of indecision from HGT as they decide whether or not they're going to go for Roshan or just finish off this mid lane, but so they are going to end up going for the bigger objective. There's an Aegis and Cheese waiting to be claimed, and they've still got to wait for their Eye of the Storm and the Black King bar. Have I been calling it Static Storm? I've totally been calling it Static Storm, haven't I? That's Disruptor's ultimate. I'm an idiot. Anyway, so we've got to wait for the Eye of the Storm. And BKB cooling down as well. Air picked up a Talisman, so it looks like he might be going for a Butterfly. And ZSMJ has to make his decision as to what he's gonna be spending all of that shiny gold on. Rabbit does end up grabbing a Hyperstone, so it looks like it's not gonna be the Abyssal Blade. After the Skull Basher, we'll still end up going back for the AC. And June, meanwhile, just grabbing a little bit of farm top, but it looks like not too close to any new items just yet. Westbrook always at the ready to jam in a hook shot and keep his team's momentum moving forward And HGT definitely looking to get multiple lanes of racks and probably finish the game off this Aegis if everything goes according to plan, but we'll see what ends up happening. It does actually end up being a Reaver for the Razor, so it looks like he's going to end up going for that heart, as everybody is juddering around right now. So Newbee kind of in a position that we've seen them in a couple of times this game, just trying to split push, delay, and buy as much time as they can before HGT come and start pushing their buildings. Moo is starting to definitely get up there in terms of right-clicking potency, has his Crystallis up, another 3k gold on top of that. One fairly big decision for Newbee to make here is whether or not they're going to buy, whether or not everybody is going to buy items, or if they're going to save for buyback. It looks like the call has pretty much already been made, since Rabbit is just rushing towards his AC as quickly as he possibly can, and that probably means that we see Moo buying out as well, and likely... I don't think he finishes the Daedalus, because he's seen the Talisman, and he'll now be seeing the Butterfly over on the Shadow Fiend. So as much as the crit is nice, I feel like he would still like to pick up a Monkey King bar from this point. We'll see what Moo ends up going for. We've got the Butterfly and the Heart delivered in quick succession. So it looks like HGT not going to waste any time making their way over towards the mid lane. Sunshine doesn't even have the birds off split pushing at the moment, realizing that he's not going to be able to threaten anything relevant, and Newbee are just going to have to take this fight the old-fashioned way. Rabbit actually just charging right in. The SMJ playing the objective for now. Rage is on cooldown. Air also going to be joining him on the high ground for the time being, as that first lane of racks is going to get cleaned up. HGT, no fear, going right through the base, down towards bottom as the Eye of the Storm keeps on ticking away. Banana taking a little bit of damage off the Shadow Fiend illusions, and they do manage to throw out the Solar Crest for a little bit of harassment, but Razor still tanking through really nicely. Westbrook threatening the hook from the sidelines, and HGT, it's actually going to be Air who mans up first and goes in to get a few extra auto attacks off of the tower. Eye of the Storm's going to be cooling down another 20 seconds time, and Earthshaker getting his Yule Scepter delivered in the midst of all of this. Rabbit not loaded up inside the Spirit Breaker, I think just hoping to use the Infest to get a little bit of a reset in this fight as opposed to using it for initiation. And yeah, Moo is going back for his Monkey King bar here. Still going to take him a little bit to be able to grab it, though. We will slowly but surely continue sieging up onto the high ground. I kind of want to reconnect to see if it helps some of this juddering, but I mean, this is also a totally pivotal moment in the game, so I feel like I probably can't afford to. HGT, another creep wave coming in pretty soon. Air knows that backdoor protection is being disabled, so he's going to go right on in and get a couple more auto attacks off. Glyph still available for Newbee as well, but starting off this team fight is the biggest problem. They could try and position their Spirit Breakers to the north and have him charge in, ZSMJ being lifted, but he's still just so damn tanky, and nobody really wants to go in here against the Eye of the Storm. They're going to hookshot in over the top, ZSMJ being bashed up. Can he get out of here? Nice Force Staff, get him a little bit further away, while Air just continues right-clicking over the top of the cogs. Rabbit out of the rage, gets focused down by the Echo Slam, and finished off Moo. Hiding inside the meld for the time being as another strike comes out. No buyback available on the Lifestealer. And out comes the Laguna Blade along with the right clicks. They finish off the Templar Assassin. And with that, Newbee will call the GG and will end up falling 2-0 to HGT in this best of 2 for the MarsTV Dota 2 League. Not the most convincing performance from Newbee. They did manage to best Immortal Magneto 2-0 yesterday, but still looking like a little bit of a lost roster, unfortunately. And for somebody who is a big fan of Moo and a pretty big fan of the majority of the players on the team, it's still unfortunately still a pretty sad state of affairs. I'm not going to pull any punches on that one, but huge props to HGT. I think a total outdraft in Game 2 as well. The Templar Assassin and Lifestealer had no business being played against the Razor, but a little bit of a drafting oversight there on Banana's part. So guys, that's going to wrap it up for our third series of the day, but we are not done just yet. We should be jumping straight into LGD versus eHome as the final 2-game series of the night, so that promises to be a really good match based on LGD's recent performance, and hoping that eHome are going to be able to put up a little bit of a fight and break the streak and the head of steam that they've got built up. So thank you guys for tuning in. It's been great casting for you so far this evening, and I hope to see you for our next game.
Some people go to church just to signify, trying to make a date with a neighbor's wife. Brother, let me tell you, just as sure as you're born, you better leave that